Welcome back guys to 1000 subscribe special movie. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video. Let's get started. What if FemKyuubi fall in love with Naruto? Chapter 1, A Bride for Demon Lord. It's a new story? Dun 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 dun. Just a project at the moment, however, I already has 3 chapters for this title, though I'll post the others chapters after I got some positive reaction from readers. And no, I didn't mean I want review or something like that. But as long there's positive feedback, I'll continue. I mean, I don't want to post story that people hate. That's that. Without further ado, please read Of Demon and Human. Chapter 1, A Bride for Demon Lord. What if the Kyuubi isn't sealed into Naruto when it fought against Yondaime and his wife? Instead, successfully killed both with its claw. What if, after that, the Kyuubi start to create its own army near the Konoha and demand a sacrifice every year to Konoha so it didn't attack them? And what if, 12 years after its attack on Konoha, Kyuubi got itself a crush on its latest sacrifice, the ball of blonde of pure adorableness that always squeak cutely every time one of its demon vassals spooked him? It want him as its bride, but how? With so many its vassals start falling for the blonde of joy, do it need to start massacre its own people? Or it need to claim what is hers as fast as possible? A mostly fluffy story with pure plot and maybe some lime. Not as hardcore as one may think. Cute Naruto, shota Naruto x Fem Kyuubi, Yandere and protective Kyuubi. XXXXXXXX. Start. XXXX. XXXX sat in its large throne like how a cat would. A humongous crimson fox could be seen. Its eyes are deep crimson in color, so deep that they as if could swallow any being with nothing but gazes. And right now, these eyes are growing with unnatural malicious intention. Grin, so evil that it probably could make humans scared to death then appear on the fox's feline face. Solution, where's my prey for this year? A woman bow in reverence to the humongous fox in front of her. Her form, compared to its size, is like comparing an ant to human. Your Highness, the tribute from the hidden village in the leaf has been prepared for you, she said calmly, though that silence behind her words make the demon fox stares at its vassal. Solution is not a human, despite look like them. She's an apex of her own species, a predator slime that can mimic into any shape and eat any creature trapped inside her body. So the question is, why did she silence like that? Speak what's on your mind. Solution it's nothing, Your Highness. It just, the tribute this year looks so delicious. Drool leaked from Solution's lips edge. Lips that starting to become wider and wider the longer the woman spaced out. 5 seconds is all it need for her bottom lip fall enough that her mouth now is large enough to swallow a human female adult. I see, but of course, what did it expect? The fox thought wryly with small deadpan on its head. Sadly for Solution, the tribute is for it to eat and not her. She can eat normal human for all it care, but not its tribute. Bring him, or her here, then. Leave me alone with my tribute. I want to taste their fear and chakra privately. The fox's eyes glows maliciously. Who dare say that its tribute is normal? It'll only eat the best meat out there, the one with large chakra that can put hundreds adult to shame. As for normal human, they're nothing but speck of dust before it, the great demon Lord Kyuubi. Right away, Your Highness. With a small bow, Solution then vanished, leaving the demon lord alone. I wonder how tasty my tribute will be this year. 12 years. No more and no less since it was free from its prison, which is a human from Uzumaki clan. 12 years ago, it was freed by someone from Uchiha clan. Of course, that person didn't do such a thing from his goodwill, but from his intention to control it as his pet. Oh, I still remember how he screamed like a bitch when I squash him under my paw like a bug. He is who did he think he is? Madara? Huh? Even the powerful Uchiha was hard-pressed at forcing it to do his bidding. Much less a no-name someone from Uchiha clan, even though that person did have Madara's eyes. Dumbass, all of them. It was not Madara's eyes that's so special that it can hypnotize a demon lord, but the power of himself that enchanted his eyes so much that it could hypnotize a demon lord. Almost same, but not quite. And it was what make all humans dumbass in the eyes of Kyuubi. Assumption. They assume what they don't understand without trying to decipher the mystery. Some do in success. But give something hard, given time, human would assume once again. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Sounds of large bell rings 3 times, and the Kyuubi know it was the time that its tribute coming. Within the darkness of the room, except for small crimson light, the Kyuubi let out a very fear-induced grin. Like out from horror movie, the humongous gate before the demon lord's throne opened with surprisingly no amount of sound. Armies of thousands then start to flooding the humongous room, each of them is variant in shape and size. Even then, even the largest is merely doubling that of human. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Each demons wield weapon in their arms and armor on their body, their faces is as ferocious as their species should be, eyes filled with nothing but bloodlust and intention to kills. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Their steps create a loud sound, one that can make any human trembles in fear. But, let's face it, who wouldn't shaken in fear from thousands armies of demonic creatures? Leading the armies, is 7 women that encircles a floating carriage. Each of them wears a classic maid attire, except the one in front, as she wear a traditional Maiko attire. The 7 battle maid of Demon Lord. And inside the carriage, is the tribute for their beloved Lord Kyuubi. Kyuubi is pleased. Its grin widened when its armies marched into its room and showing their might. Even though the harpies cannot fly as it mean disrespecting its position, they still tried their best to look as ferocious in front of their lord. It pleased Kyuubi. They're all part of its armies, even though there's still much more outside. Demons, the creatures that not only pride themselves of their power, but also revered to those with power. And let be honest, Kyuubi has infinite amount of it. Unlike humans, Kyuubi is more fond of demons. And it showed itself in the form of its armies that have no single human inside. To Kyuubi, they're pest. And to its armies, human is nothing but prey, which made the Kyuubi found itself getting fonder of them each passing day. Now let's see what my pets bring this year. Kyuubi is fond of its demonic army, this is true, but to it, they're still nothing more than pets. Fond of pets is nothing unusual. And after thought like that, the demon lord Kyuubi take a glance to the carriage in front of its army, and immediately widen its eyes, at the same time, salivating. As such chakra, what kind of human is this? Whatever kind of human it is, it want him/her, and it want him/her now. Stop. The Kyuubi's army immediately do that. Their faces show confusion at why their lord tell them to stop. After all, the ceremony is not even finished. But it was their lord's order. Even if it tell them to kill themselves, they will do it in heartbeat. You all have done a great thing, now leave. I don't want to do any ceremony this year. Saying the demons stupefied may be an understatement. After all, it was not on their lord's nature to miss the ceremony. After all, their lord was the one created the ceremony in the first place. Didn't I make myself clear? Thousands or so demons immediately teleported away. Their lord is powerful, it can do as it please, and they would just comply. The only group that didn't teleported is the 7 battle maid, still encircling the carriage that's holding their lord's prey. Then I shall take my leave, your highness. One of the 7 battle maids, the one in front, bowed lowly, then also teleported like the others. Thunk. Right after she leave, the carriage dropped gently, showing that it was her that hold it in the first place. The other 6 frowned inwardly, kinda putted off by their leader attitude. The Kyuubi though didn't seem mind. After all, Omega just did what had been ordered. Its eyes glows ominously at the dropped carriage, showing where's its focus currently. The Kyuubi inhales, sniffing and absorbing the chakra poured out from the carriage, and shivers in excitement. Growl, such thickness, such potency. With nothing but a sniff, Kyuubi felt as if eaten 10 adult males with large chakra reservoir. It can't wait to eat any more. Swoosh! The Kyuubi's gone, its form as if dispersed into the shadow that swallow the whole room, taunting its inhabitants that it always watching everything. That compared to it, they're nothing. No, they're less than nothing. Already watched it several times. 6 of remaining of 7 battle maids kneels in reverence to the growing shadow that grew second by second. In front of them, the size is roughly human-like. First is limbs, hands, and feet grew like how lizard grow their tails, but instead lizard-like, it was more like human limbs. Several others then grew just like that. Slowly but surely created humanoid form. Kyuubi opened its eyes, the dark crimson color is there, along with the darkest sclera, as dark as night. No, it's more like, Kyuubi opened her eyes, stood in a whooping 7 feet, the demon mistress is far tinier than its fox form. But the power inside her is undeniable. It was just compressed, just like how she could compress her dark energy into a pure Biju Dhamma. And from how her maids shivering in both excitement and fear, Kyuubi know that they too know how dangerous she is despite her size. crimson hairs waving around behind her in ethereal beauty. Each strand is as breathtaking as others, and together, all of her hairs is akin to that of silks of heaven, with bangs rested atop of her eyes, almost covering both. Her face is enchantingly gorgeous, and equally dangerous. Like the most beautiful mistress in the hell, the beauty that you can't help but forgive no matter how much she hurt you. Her demonic eyes just enchanting all of this. Black dress, as black as night sky, covers her sinful body, topped by large haori that hide any curve that she possibly have under it. Bloody Queen Elisis from Elseword, why are you still here even after I ordered you to scram? Just like before, her voice is demonic in nature, but this time with a hint of feminine within. Her demonic eyes gazes into her 6 vassals with something akin to annoyance. She had ordered them to go away, and thousands demons already do so, even the 6th leader. Yet why is these 6 still here? Obviously noticed the annoyance on their mistress's voice, the 6 sweated heavily. There's no way someone cannot notice such a thing, not with the way ominous energy in the air tremble, as if the fabric of space itself scared at the thought of the angry demon lord. One of the 6 decided to step up before she and her sisters being killed by their own mistress. There's something I need to tell you before you getting in. Your Highness, the one spoke in her mind is a bespectacled woman around 174 cm/5'7" feet in height. And it was because it was her that Kyuubi decided to let them live for another seconds. After all, Yuri Alpha is someone that Kyuubi can respect, even though only for a bit. Then what are you waiting for? Speak. The woman named Yuri Alpha then bowed, as if in apologize. And Kyuubi know it mean whatever she's going to say is going to offend her in some way. Thousand apologize, Your Highness. This lowly me just want to say be careful to you, the human inside. He's dangerous, right on the spot. Well, Kyuubi's offended, but not so much. And so she just let it slide for now. She know how powerful she is, and she also know how powerful the human inside the carriage. He pose no danger to her. I see, if that's all. Kyuubi didn't need to speak further, as the 6 of 7 battle maids immediately teleported away. 2 seconds after her maids gone, Kyuubi take a deep sniff, and once again shivering in deep euphoria, eyes locked into the carriage, Kyuubi's form start to change once again. The glows in her eyes brighten in intensity, her fangs become longer, and 9 ghostly aura shaped like tails appear behind her. Yuri is strong, as Dullahan she is, there's no question. So if she said the human inside is dangerous, then it mean he's dangerous. Let's see how you put up a fight. Human with calmness of predator, Kyuubi walked to the carriage and opened the door. Later, this is not what she expected. She had thought the human inside is big, with muscles filled his body and glare as if going to kill her. A boy, seem no older than 12 is what she see right now. Tied up and gagged by a white cloth, his eyes also blindfolded by blue cloth, and from the smell, both cloth is Yuri's own. This make Kyuubi's form back into her previous form, deadpan on her head. This is my tribute. Even from the side, she could see the boy squirm in the sofa, his hands trying their best to pull the knot that tying his hands together behind his back. Even Jenin can do that from what she remember. So the fact this boy can't even do that mean he's not even a ninja. Which part of this dangerous? Rubbing her suddenly aching head, Kyuubi walked to her prey, her eyes watching how he squirm around like a caterpillar with no success at breaking free. Honestly, it's amusing. Now let's see how loud can you scream in fear. Evil grin then appears on the Kyuubi's lips. Weak or strong, in the end there's no different. He's her prey, she will swallow him. As he begs for mercy and scream in fear. With a slight twitch of hand, Kyuubi slashed all the binds on the boy. It start with the boy frozen in place, his eyes still closed. Yeah. He let out soft noise, hands free, and eyes opened. Baby blue eyes met dark crimson with black sclera, his eyes met hers for the first time. For normal boys, they probably will shrink when they see the form of woman that almost doubled their size. But surprising Kyuubi, the boy smiled at her. Smiles with nothing hidden within, only pure happiness and gratefulness that someone decide to help him. And for some reason, she, the great demon lord of hell, suddenly feels self-conscious. Thank you. It was then, right in front of her, the boy's cheeks turn red from embarrassment. His eyes glancing away from her in shyness. Kyuubi is not human, she's a demon made of chakra and nothing else. But even then, she can't deny that the boy are cute. No, he's hellish cute. What's up with that clear baby blue eyes that show his adorable embarrassment? What's up with that smooth, white skin that could make even Angel turn envious? What's up with that 3 whiskers marks on the boy's cheeks? That make him more adorable? And what's up with this large trust he placed on her just because she'd simply untied his bind? And yet, she can feels all kinds of emotions. Demon and human stares at each other for a full minute, though for the latter, he glances away in shyness and red cheeks by the first 5 seconds. Kyuubi don't know what to think. She had entered this carriage, expecting a human that will be her food, but now, her heart drummed gently as she stares at her supposedly tribute. This is the most unexpected scenario. Instead of eating human, now Kyuubi feel herself slowly falling in love to one. Oh, yes, she know that she's falling in love right now. She's not human that was oblivious to their own feeling. Then again, demon are different than human. Unlike them that wasting their fleeting time blushing and dating, demon will just blurt it out and mate with other demon that sucks at catching their fancy. As for falling for human, it's kinda different. Human, the boy widened his eyes, obviously didn't expect such evil voice from the woman that saved him. And it was then, he remembered that he's not supposedly saved by someone. He's supposedly going to be a tribute to the demon lord, who's, from what he heard, is going to eat him. Any ounce of gratitude's gone from his heart, now become a pure fear. His face become paler as he backed away from the woman in front of him, lips trembling. I see you've realized who am I. Unfortunately, or fortunately for the boy, unlike him that stopped feeling gratitude, Kyuubi find herself still. Don't regain her urge to eat the human in front of her. Even with the newly born fear she feel pouring from him, it even make him much cuter in her eyes, with how his adorable wide eyes shaking in fear and his lips trembling like that. It make me want to gobble him up. In the bed for a full 5 seconds, Kyuubi just keeps staring at the boy like he was a piece of meat. And in each second, he become much paler and paler. After 5 seconds passed, the Kyuubi take a step forward. Her words is, "Come with me to my room, Eep." And the boy immediately passed out with pale face. Naruto don't know what to think. In all his life, he never felt any ounce of happiness. The people from his village always mistreated him. They threw stones at him, calling him names, and never want to associated themselves with him. It make him lonely. He feel alone and cold, yet no one come to his aid. In the rains he's soaked wet, under the scorching sun he can only use tree leaves as roof. He don't know how to talk, nor he know how to write because no one taught him. But he's a great learner. Observing villages peoples from the shadow, he know people always said thank you if someone do something good to them. He learned some other words, but thank you is the only word he fluently know. When the village is visited by the demons, he feel hope. People always call him that word, which mean these demons is his kin in some way. But, staring from one of tall tree, Naruto could see these demons is far different than him. Their bodies is colorful. For example, some demons with goat-like head have black furs, while the others white. Some demons have wings in exchange of their arms, beak for mouth, or claw as feet. He looked down into him hands. A pair of hands that didn't look like any demons at all. It seemed like humans to him. A gentle tears pours from his eyes. He don't know what to do anymore. Just what should he do to have place in somewhere? From atop of tree, Naruto could hear how the 7 demons in front is talking to some old man with a tired voice. Each of the 7 wears a very not good looking masks. He can't talk's language, nor he can read. But he know exactly what they're talking about. The demons are demanding sacrifice for their lord for this year, but the human old man said that they don't have any human with large chakra anymore. The demons let out a sound that pretty much tell that they're very displeased at the old man's words, and the demons said they will wait for 3 days, and if the old man don't comply, they will destroy the village until nothing left. And with that, the demons' army's gone. As if never there in the first place. The boy want to meet with them, the demons, and ask whether he's a demon or not. And if he is, he want to be with them, to have family. Leaped off from the tree, he chased the demon's army using his nose as guide. Later it took the boy hours of running through the forest to chase the teleported demons. And by the times he see them from afar, his clothes already in mess. The one greet him, surprisingly, is one of the 7 masked demon. Her eyes under that mask watch him in silence. He walked to her, his body shivering in fear from the demon's gaze. But the hope to meet with demon that look like him really make him ignore everything else. After all, He had seen the demons are variant in size and shape. So perhaps, there's a demon that look like him. D demon. L leader. Me. F food. He want to meet with the demon leader and ask them whether he's demon or not. And if he's not, he doesn't mind being eaten. Anything is better than to live in a life full of loneliness. The demon in front of him is silent for a full minute, as if shocked beyond belief at his request. But perhaps seeing what she'd looked for within him, she nodded and walked to behind him. Naruto's sharp nose inhaled something sweet when this demon passed him. At the same time, he felt her fleeting warmness for a second. She stood behind him then, her tall frame make sure the boy's form covered by her shadow. After all, she stood around 5 feet 7 inches foot while he himself is only 5 feet 0 inches foot, and he can't think anything else, because suddenly, his mouth and nose covered by something. And everything was black to him. Later he squirmed and let out a small noise, but can only let out muffled noise. He can't see anything. He can't move his tied limbs. The only thing make him happy is the fact that the demon that knocked him out and tied him is very gentle when she's carrying him. As for how he know it's her, well, he had said that his nose is pretty good, right? The fleeting happiness when someone being gentle to him gone when the demon place him in something soft. Is this bed or sofa? Whatever this is, he squirmed again, ignoring the loud noise from the outside. And suddenly, the noise is gone. He don't know what noise that was, and so he don't know why it stopped. But his thought is broken when suddenly, the clothes tying him are snapped. Yeah. His eyes still closing for some more seconds. But when he opened them, he almost gasped. She is demon, he can see that. Obviously. And except her eyes and size, everything just really look like him. Thank you. Naruto feels his cheeks turn warms and eyes glance away. For all intent, even after what he thought or what else, he don't know what to do after met his kin. And the demon woman also didn't help with how she keeps staring at him. He backed away instantly, his wide eyes stare at the demon with disbeliefs and fear. There's no way he's a human. So why is this woman that look like him said that he's a human? He's a demon, right? I see you've realized who am I. He has. Since the start he knew that she's a demon, the demon lord who demand tribute to the villagers. And the woman in question stares at him as if he's a piece of meat. Is he going to be eaten? Thinking like that, the boy backed away once again until his back pressed into the carriage's edge, his eyes tearful and his lips trembling hard. Why? Just why did he end up like this? All he wants is to have is a friend, one is enough. But he's never accepted. In the village of human, they called him demon, the creatures they despise. And now, in front of the demon lord, she called him human, the creature they eat every single day. Just what must he do to be accepted? Just as his world crumbling down, the demon lord took a single step toward him. Her words are full of finality. Come with me to my room. He didn't know what make him do so, but when he heard that haunting and evil voice, he can't help but to let out a loud shriek. Eeb, and immediately passed out. Back with Kyuubi. So cute, muttered that lowly. The Kyuubi gazed down at her will be bride with outward cold gaze, but heart still want to gobble him up in the bed. He's just that cute. 2 seconds staring at his passing out form, Kyuubi then scooped him up and let him snuggles into her bosom. Of course, she ignores the way he shivers in her grasp. Her body is as cold as blizzard in hell, and her hate for humanity is as hot as the flames of hell itself. The boy in her grasp will accept and love that part of her, or she'll make him. Not that she's going to hurt him or anything. After all, people could say whatever they think about demon, but demon are not creatures that could hurt the thing/person they love intentionally. Using her Haori's sleeves as makeshift blanket, the Kyuubi let the boy's form covered, and obviously warmed, by her clothing, then walked out from the carriage with him in her arms. The first thing Kyuubi sees once she walked out from the carriage is Yuri, seem have come back alone for an unknown reason. And said bespectacled woman bowed when she seen her lord coming out, not noticing the bundle in her arms yet. Your Highness, I see you have finished your me. Yuri's breath hitched, because when she stood up once again, she noticed the bundle in her lord's grasp. Small it is, she could see some blonde hairs poking out. The boy is still alive. From this day onward, this boy will be my bride, and any attack on him will be treated as attack to myself. Do you understand? She said with small amount of power leaks from her words, thinking Yuri's flinch as her unaccepting. Her letting the human alive. Shivering slightly from her lord's words, Yuri can only nod dumbly. Good, then spread my words to everyone. I'll spend my time with my bride in my chamber if you need me. The threat is there. Kyuubi don't want to get interrupted. Not when she spends her time with her will-be bride. Not caring that she leaves her subordinated dazed, Kyuubi walked away. And gone with fluttering wind when she was 5 meters away from Yuri. This is complicated, Yuri muttered after 2 minutes in daze. The boy's special, she knew it from the start. From the first time she seen him, her cold, beating heart felt as if the string has been pulled by that charming blue eyes. But sensing the boy's chakra level, she immediately closed her heart. She didn't want to fall in love with someone that will die. But just like the other, she is a pure-blooded demon. She can't regress her feeling just like that. All she can do is to suppress them. That is why she was very gentle to the boy when she caught him. She used chloroformed hand of her instead, knocking him out with force. Didn't want to leave any bruise on his tiny neck. She tied him with her collection of hair bands that was made by soft, yet rubbery cloth instead of rough ropes. Didn't want to leave any rope marks on that white skin of his. And lastly, she carried him gently like he was the most precious thing in the world. She has fell to his cuteness, to his pure eyes and naivete. And that is why she had come back to her lord after she thought the boys she fell into eaten. She wanted to be killed, because for demon, love to someone soon to die is the most hurtful torture in life. Yet there he is, still alive and breathing with that cute nose of his. And the worst is, her lord claimed him. This is the worst possibility. Later the Kyuubi walks to her chamber with grace of a queen. Her eyebrows furrowed with no small amount of focus. She felt something that tell her that soon, her patience will be tested to the edge. And despite how great and powerful she is, Kyuubi know that she's not one of patience. She actually kinda destroy first and think later demon. Gazed down to her soon-to-be bride, Kyuubi's eyes watch him squirm adorably in her grasp. His tiny hands grasping on her warm hairus and pulling it over his eyes that got hit by some light. He's so cute. Why other human can't be as cute as this one, Kyuubi don't know. But if only they did, perhaps she would hate them less, probably. Human is still human in the end. And except the one in her grasp, she will think them as nothing but bugs before her. Leaned down, Kyuubi inhales her soon-will-be bride scent and immediately shivers. His chakra. She can't put it into words. Inhuman. Yes, there's no other human with this much pure, untainted chakra, not even Uzumaki's. Heavenly? Yes, it does. The scent of his chakra is just that good. Not even her creator's chakra this untainted. This boy, for some reason God has sent someone that is the epitome of her opposite to her. Gods, always meddling with humans. Just what's your plan to this boy, I wonder? Oh well, he's not some sort of God's agent that was sent to her to eliminate her or something like that. She's sure of it. Probably, the gods just sent him to her, hoping that he will heal her hate of humanity with his purity or something like that. HMP, as if that would happen, she scoffed. It was humanity that made her like this. It was their hate for their own that changed her fur's colors into bleeding crimson from its previous heavenly cloud of white. It was their envies that changed her eyes into dark rubies from its previously warm red eyes. And it was their never-ending wanton for destruction that made her power into destruction given self itself. Humanity is flawed creatures deep in thought for long. Soon Kyuubi realized that she was already stood in front of the door to her chamber. Door that was at least several kilometers in height, made of steel and also can absorb chakra which could be used by her at any times. Open gurururururu. Oh, did she forget that the door is also alive? Of course it is. It was the gate that was supposedly lead anyone to hell after all. At least before she ripped it off from its place and placed it in her humble house. Hades must have been angry. Though not that she cares. With such a loud and haunting sound, the doors opens very slightly and let the tiny formed Kyuubi enters it. Behind her, the door closed once again. Her room, if one can say, is as big as Konoha village itself, with the bed in the middle took almost half of the room. Gargantuan, that was the size of her bed. Kilometers crimson sheet made of the silks of rare demonic worms covering the forms of thousands mindless, but active, sweat-eating slimes. Said slimes are forced by her to take a shape of bed. Tied to the ceiling on top of her bed, thousands chakra-eating, fabric-shaped snakes waving and hissing gently, each as long as her Kyuubi's form tail. And from the fact one of her tail can wraps around a middle-sized mountain, that's saying something about the snake's size. The room's wall is painted black with thousands white painting that with stars. And right on the roof, a beautiful painting of moon can be seen, glowing ethereally from the chakra pumping into it. Demon she is, she didn't need anything like mirrors or makeup table like human do. For the first time today, Kyuubi let out a small, unseen smile. Her room is gorgeous, fitting for the strongest demon in the world like her. And when he's up, her bride will be tongue-tied and fall in love to her instantly from her room beauty. Thinking like that, Kyuubi closed her eyes and nodded wistfully. She regrets nothing by make sure her room beauty top-notch now, not even after she made the fabric snakes and demonic silkworms almost extinct. Her room is gorgeous, and when her love seen it, he will like it and want to stay inside forever. So no, she won't regret her decision. Looked up to her bed, Kyuubi jumped off into the side of it with nothing but a single leap. Right beside a huge pillow and on top of the bed sheets and smiling once again, Kyuubi placed her love under the sheet and let his head resting on the small part of the pillow. And her grin widened when her soon-to-be bride shuffling around, which she chalked as him unconsciously missing her presence. Hear me out. This boy is going to be my bride. If one of you hurt him, even if it only a strand of his hairs, I will rip the souls of all of you and break you all for years, and when I'm satisfied, I'll destroy your soul completely. The Kyuubi said, seemed to nothing but actually to all of the living things inside this bedroom of her, which is all of clothes-shaped snakes. The slimes. Well, they're mindless. And despite they could melt human easily, they're slaves to her chakra. Chakra that soon she will inject to her bride to mark him as hers. Do you understand? Hiss. Thousands panicked hisses sound reach her ears. Frown marred on the Kyuubi's lips when she can see that her love shifting from such loud noise. The snakes turn silent immediately. Seconds turn into minute, and in the end, Kyuubi let the snakes get away this time. Knelt down, the ancient demon lay beside her soon-to-be bride, her eyes staring at his defenseless neck. Soon, I will mark you, and no gods can touch you anymore. Mark of demon make the human gain mostly negative effect like become unlucky, being targeted by other demons and also won't have any god's protection anymore. That's why most of demon become much stronger when they gain human bride. With how constantly they need to protect their bride, even if it at the cost of their life, make sure they become strong or die trying. Kyuubi herself, well, she's not lying when she said that she's the strongest demon in the world, maybe stronger than Satan itself. But with the legendary demon is yet to seen for years, she can't do anything to test it. Lady Luck and other gods/goddesses won't dare taking their protection away from her bride. And no demon will dare hurt what is her power make the world spin, and she has plenty of it. Wrapping her hairs around her soon-to-be bride once again, this time until his whole body gotten cocooned, the demon lord pulled him into her large bosom and let him rest there. And she waits until he awake, her eyes staring at his face unblinkingly. Later Naruto awake with small amount of headache, his eyelids fluttering gently like how butterflies' wings would. He wanted to rubs it to make the blurry go away, but it was then he realized that he can't move his arms. His arms. No, his body's as if cocooned by something soft. But the sweet smell of something in front of him make him can't even panic. His blurry eyes can only see something black, and move slightly, right in front of his eyes. Like a wall, but have a pair of mounds. Panic or not, the boy's body struggles gently, but only successful at making the whatever cocooned him stretch a bit, then back at binding him. It's not actually uncomfortable, the things binding him actually so soft and warms that he kinda want to continue to sleep. But he wants to rubs his blurry eyes. Here, let me help you. Large, yet soft thumb gently swiped the now frozen boy's eyes with nothing but loving gentleness. He knew that voice. Whimpered meekly, the boy looked up and immediately shrinks. It's her, the demon lord in all of her tall glory. And worst of all, he's fully restrained now. Once again, Naruto found his eyes began to waters. But this time, the demon lord surprised him with her words. "Shhh, I won't hurt you again." A large thumb gently swiped over his eyes, taking the tears away. And now said eyes are filled with hope. Hope that the demon lord realizes that he's not a human like she had said, but a demon. Not knowing what's her soon-to-be bride's thought, but still can feel him relax in her embrace. Along with hope blossoming in his heart, Kyuubi leaned down and kissed his forehead. Ayuyu. He merely stares at her with confused face, wide, doe eyes looking up from under her bosom. No embarrassment, no happiness that's signaling him know what she did just now. All in his heart is still hope after heard her words of not going to hurt him and confuse after she kissed him. He don't know what kiss is. Strange, boy around his age should have know what affection feel and how it was expressed. Though now that she thinks about it, he should have able to talk too. She will research upon this discovery when she got time. Yes, I won't hurt you. I promise, she said to clear his confused mind. After all, she needs to focus to the problem in front of her first. Naruto's eyes brighten, which make him look like adorable kitten to her. And despite his body's being restricted, he shows his gratefulness by rubbing his head to her stomach. Didn't expect this, but still welcome it. Kyuubi's arms wrapped around him and pulled him to her neck so he can dive his face there instead of her stomach. His whole body, tiny it is compared to her, easily spooned in her warmth. Thank you. Ah yes, he can talk. But it seems he has some difficulty, as if no one properly taught him to talk and he learned it by himself. Kyuubi honestly curious, but really, this was not the time. For now, she needs to get to know her soon-to-be bride better and make him relax around her. Tell me, human, what's your name? He didn't answer. His eyes look hurt when he look up to her from her neck, which make Kyuubi inwardly narrowed her eyes. Just what make him feel hurt? Her question is legit. Even demon ask each other names first before they knew each other. This reaction of him is like before when they're on the carriage. And I said nothing except human then. Which at first, she thought him backed away was because her evil voice. But now, he seems happy when she said that she won't hurt him, despite her voice. It was the human word. He seems to believe that he's not human. I see. I'm sorry. What I mean is, what's your name? The pain on the boy's eyes gone just like that, back into its previous brightening cerulean gems. His mouth opened, testing the words. And from what she can feel, if not for her sleeves binding him, Kyuubi is sure that the boy would have clutching into her like some sort of adorable leech. She can feel how he's still hopelessly struggling after all. NNA Naruto. It was difficulty for him. It was seen from the fact he took almost 1 minute to said his name alone. But the face he made while trying is so adorable that Kyuubi really want to just ignore all of trying to make him relaxes and just go to the main event. Which is you know what until he passed out or begging for mercy. But she has a feeling he still don't know anything about adultery and pretty much still innocent. Oh, don't misunderstand now, she will take away that innocent away the demon way. But she will make sure he knows about bird and bees first before doing that to him. Not when he doesn't even know about hug and kiss like right now. I see, you have a beautiful name, Naru. The boy obviously like his little pet name from her if his large smile is any indication. Smile that's so pure that it almost forced her to smiles back. No, not yet. You probably know who I am. I am the bane of humanity, the one who gods feared and made the world trembles from my might alone. My name is long forgotten even by myself, but you can call me Kyuubi Otsutsuki, the strongest demon lord in the hell and underworld. She knew he won't fear her. Not when she already knew what he fears more than anything. It wasn't her voice, not her status as demon lord, and obviously, she even dares to bet it's also not her power. His fear is to be different than her. This proved when the boy's merely looking at her with awe-filled eyes. His bright, starling blue eyes is highly opposite of her dimming crimson own. Like comparing the clear sky with void of cave. The first person that's not afraid of her, and it's not because he's as strong as her or overconfidence in his own power, but because he didn't comprehend just what she could do with her infinite amount of power. It was humbling in some way. It said how much she stared into hate that she never noticed the purity in front of her. Tell me, Naru, do you know what marriage is? She really hopes he do, because as much she can't be patient when it about gobble him up in bed, there's no way she can't wait to make him her bride. After all, there's one important ceremony that cannot waited for, which is the ceremony where she'll inject small part of her power to him, thus it will make him have same scent as her, also pulsing her thick demonic energy in every second he walks. It's important because there's many demons that not only despise human, but very sadistic to the race in question. If they met with her bride on the hall, and her scent is yet on him, she's afraid they will swallow him and let him live in their stomach for hours, torturing him before they in the end become bored and kill him. Oh, sure she believes that Yuri had tell her army that she now has bride and no one to touch him. But Not all of her pets are intelligent. Some are pretty dumb and can't even understand the words said to them. And some demons like harpies are bird brain. So yeah, she will mark this boy before she can even let him wander outside her room. MNN. Nara, KK no oh yes, that's the answer she wanted to hear. Though the boy's innocent face makes her kind of doubtful at his understanding of marriages. Then tell me, what is it? H hold H hand. Deadpan yeah, she, the great demon Lord Kyuubi deadpanned at her soon-to-be bride's too innocent answer. Now perhaps she really needs to consider to lock him up and let Yuri teach him basic things before she married him. But his next words change her decision almost immediately. That, and his begging face. Also, TT together. YU. WW want T2. His language is bad, very very bad. But Kyuubi know what he said, albeit not clearly. He asked whether she want to marry him, said married is pretty much is. To be together to him, also holding hands. Deadpan yet, he's still very innocent, but his answer indeed is not that far from the truth. To demons, marriage is to be together until the day they die. Of course, only if their partner is human. Why do you think I, the greatest demon lord wants to marry you? It was a bad choice of words. And right after she said you, Kyuubi immediately regret her impulse action that was fueled by her dumbass amount of pride. Naruto's eyes are watering, his lips began to trembling, and his body on her grasp is slackening. He's going to cry. Didn't want to crush his suddenly fragile heart, Kyuubi leaned her face down and kissed his teary eyes. And her next words said how much she's already whipped by the boy that she's not even married yet. I'm sorry. I'm just joking. Please marry me to most people. Seeing the demon lord begging to someone to forgive her while begging them to marry her must be funny. But to Naruto, the one who wished nothing except to have friend, even one, this is the happiest day in his life. Why yes. The binding seems to lessen when the Kyuubi begs to him to forgive her. And like a kitten to catnip, Naruto's arms wrapped around his very first friend's large neck tightly. And after he hugs soon-to-be wife, the room explode with crimson chakra. Later so, it was like that, huh? Kyuubi thought while panting very softly. Her eyes gazed at the fainted boy in her lap. On his neck, a mark slowly creating. And each second the mark appearing with surprising amount of slowness, the boy's body shook as if in pain. He's not normal human. Most human are instantly marked by demon when the demon inject their malicious energy toward their chosen, thus the pain won't be that long. The longest is no longer than 2 seconds. But him. Caressing her bride's cheek with loving gentleness, Kyuubi's eyebrows furrowed in distaste. He's the chosen one. The child of prophecy. She can feel it, and even now, his blessing from all gods and goddesses make sure to resist her dark and tainted energy, as if it's going to taint him. Right now, in his body, almost all of her chakra is fighting against all blessings of gods and goddess. Yes, right now inside his body, she's fighting against the force of heaven all by herself. Don't underestimate me. Blessings is blessings, it's not like she's fighting against the real gods and goddesses. And thus, Kyuubi roared and let out more tainted chakra that blanketing over herself and her bride. Crack, crack, crack. One by one, the blessings are destroyed. And each blessing destroyed hurt the boy very much, seen from his sweating body and pained face. Seeing this, Kyuubi's eyes glowed maliciously. There's no way she let her bride in pain like this. With her power, instead of destroying, now she molds all the blessing into hers, the blessing of Demon Lord. It takes her around 1 minute, but in the end, it was over. With the boy slumping in the huge bed, unmoving. Except this time, every second he breathed out air, very thin of dark energy pulsed out from his body. Near the boy, Kyuubi let out small breath out of relief, so small that if someone nearby, they won't realize it. Her malicious eyes watch her bride with a cold calculation. She really hopes there's no complication to his transformation from child of prophecy to whatever he is right now, nor the complication from the few blessings she destroyed few minutes ago. If there is complication, I'll kills every gods and goddesses alive until they're extinct. The evil in her eyes are pointed to every deity out there. But from the fact her eyes are currently gazing at her bride, it was him that unconsciously shaking as if in cold. NNNN. He whimpered, breaking Kyuubi from her evil thought. Realized that she was activating her evil gaze unintentionally and make her bride scared in his sleep, Kyuubi scoop him up and place his face on her neck, her hands holding him. Tenderly like precious little thing he is. Shhhhhh. I won't hurt you, you don't need to fear anything gods, demons, human, she'll slay anything that dare hurt her bride. That's her promise as demon lord. And since ancient time, there's no such thing as deceitful demon lord. And Kyuubi too, won't break her promise. XXXXXXXX, and XXXXXXXX. How's it? Love it? Hate it? Please tell me about it, whether in review or PM, I don't mind otherwise. And tell me whether you want this story continue or not, because I need your opinions before I post another one. XD. And one more thing, I already said this in other stories of mine, but I rarely open my fanfiction from browser, and for some reason PM just doesn't enter my phone, so if you have any questions that you want to be answered quickly, I've posted my Instagram nick on my profile. At the same time, I also has posted my YouTube channel link there. This is just me asking for favor, but can any of you spend 1 minute to subscribe me? It's not advertisement of course, I just want something, and I also won't force any of you. XD. But if any of you could, please do subscribe, alright? I really appreciate the gesture. Chapter 2. Best day ever. Hi, back with me in next chapter of Demon and Human. Now you probably asked, why did I update so quick? Yes? Well, yesterday I already said that the second chapter is already made, but whether I post it or not, I needs your opinion. And 95% review and PM told me to continue, and this 5% didn't actually telling me to stop, just something ambiguous to my ears. And so, here I am. Posting another chapter. Just don't expect me to update every day though. By the way, I'm going to answer some of the review here. I hope you guys won't mind. Thank you in advance. Araya, it's still undecided. With Kyuubi as Yandere, it will be hard for other love interests to get close to Naruto. However, if it indeed going to be a harem, I'll tell you that it'll far in the future and not in near chapters. Revlovmavizo, no, it's Elisis from Elseword. I used her wallpaper for this story cover. Just imagine her with black dress and Haori instead. That tatter. Mr. Miliardo, they're from Anime Overlord. XD. John Kelmer, please don't. XD. Earthly entity, so true. XD. Endomish, it's still undecided, as in chapter 1, it's already said Yuri already loved Naruto at first glance, just like Kyuubi, though of course, I can make her into loyal private maid or something like that, but at the moment, it's still undecided and I also haven't right that far. Let's do this, Databia. Normal talk. What did you mean, Databan? Inward thinking. Kneel before me, mortal. Demon/god like voice crack? Effect sound. Chapter 2, best day ever. XXX. Start. XXX to Naruto, the orphaned boy from Konoha. There's no other way to describe today except, what's the word again? Awesome? It was that word. Today is awesome for him. Why? Because he gained a friend at last, of course. For long, he longed for friend, sat in a swing and hoped some kids would ask him to play with them instead of calling him names. Yet it never happened. They keep called him names and threw rocks at him. He was hungry, he was tired, and mostly, he was in pain. Both physically and mentally. He often asked to himself, just why? Just what did he do to gain such animosity from the villagers? They called him demon. And it seems it was true, he was demon all along. He's so fortunately to meet with Kyuubi, the baddest demon leader that really look like him in appearance. She's so kind too. She gave him shelter, said that her whole room is his to play, and if he gotten any difficulty navigating the bed, which is around 2 km in size, though not that he know, he just need to call upon the snakies that hangs on the ceiling to bring him back to the where pillow is. Said huge pillow is where he and Kyuubi sleep. Kyuubi gave him clothes, the one far fancier than the one used by the people he had seen on Konoha. Each of them also very soft, unlike his previous that's so rough and ragged. He also don't need to wear his clothes by himself, Kyuubi had said. He just need to point which clothes he want to wear and the nearest snaky or two will change his clothes for him. When they sleep, Kyuubi also very gently tucked him under the sheet and hugs him into her large body. It made him feel safe when he was inside her embrace, unlike the time when he can only tucks into himself under the bridge. He should have chased after the demon much sooner, honestly. This was his place, together with Kyuubi his friend. Kyuubi, help. Boink, boink. Today, Naruto is playing with the pillow after he asked for the snaky to place him on top of it. It was very soft, which prompted him to jump around, higher and higher from the help of the pillow like it was some sort of trampoline. And thus, his current problem. He can't get down, and the pillow keeps sending him to air without any sign to stop. Though of course, like some sort of superhero, Kyuubi has come and within second, Naruto found himself in her grasp, his own arms wrapping tightly around her neck. With Kyuubi. Before I see, if that's all, you may go now Kyuubi, the demon lord of hell said in all of her humongous fox form glory. Her red eyes full of hate that could make even the strongest demons shivering in fear staring down at one of her pets. Yes, your highness. The powerful-looking minotaur bowed in reverence before turn around and walks away. In her seat, Kyuubi closed her eyes for a second, then opened it and stared at the hand grip of her seat, where she could see one of her trusty aids, Solution. What's bothering you, Solution? She could see it, no matter how small it is. Solution is frowning, totally opposite of her never-ending smile. Her eyes also show no small amount of confusion. Demon lord she is, she's not one for tyranny. She also fond of her pets, thus it was possible that she has a small concern for her slimy human-eater pet. Didn't expect to be called, more so for her lord to ask for her well-being. Solution fixed her face and straightened her back. I'm merely confused my lord. The power of Demon Lord Kyuubi is not exactly a secret to her underling. They all know that their lord can sense emotion and heart, also can basically rip your soul to shred with nothing but gaze. And so, loyal she is, Solution didn't even try to hide what's bothering her. The human that's supposedly to be your tribute few days ago, I'm confused, just what did you see in him that you make him into your bride? Surely creature as low as him cannot possibly compared to someone divine like you. I'm truly confused my lord. For a full minute, the Kyuubi didn't bother to look at her underling. She just looked up to the ceiling with unreadable gaze. But once the minute has ended, her eyes are back to Solution. Perhaps it's hard for you to understand. Your kind after all didn't need any mate to keep on living, as your race can just split themselves. Small gruff sound could be heard from Kyuubi's throat then. But even you'll have someone that you'll think is precious, so much that you won't mind dying for them. It's just the way of life. Solution. As demons we are attuned more deeply to our heart than other races. When we find our other half, we sense it instantly. It was our duty to protect and be with them, lest we die in antagonizing way. When her lord talks, Solution just keeps silent, her eyes staring at her lord with nothing but trust. Lord Kyuubi, after all, had lived longer than other demons. It was even said that Lord Kyuubi is actually one of the first demon lord in the hell and had gone for several hundred years before coming back 12 years ago. If Lord Kyuubi said so, then Solution believe it must be so. But your highness, isn't human weak? How come they can be compared to us? The human is not as weak as you think. Solution. If you don't believe me, I could give you a permission to go to Konoha alone, then challenge one of ninjas there. Though now that I think about it, no. I don't want to lose you to Solution. Her lord's words is very heartwarming. Her concern for a lowly slime like her, she's so unlike other demon lord. I believe you my lord. From now on I shall not underestimate human much anymore. Good. Just as the two talking, Kyuubi's rabbit-like ears twitched. She heard her love asking for help. Narrowed her eyes, Kyuubi's humongous form turned into shadow itself and gone from sight, leaving Solution that just bowed in respect. Kyuubi's chamber. When Kyuubi arrived on her bedroom, she was already in her human form, eyebrow raised at the sight of what her bride are doing. He is on the air, waving his arms childishly, perhaps expecting himself to stay airborne or something. But from the fact his face already green, she could guess it was mostly because he's already gotten sick getting throwed by the pillow trampoline. She found it funny and kinda want to watch it more honestly, but he's already called her, so he could become angry at her if she taken too long to help him. Plus, she wants to touch him now that she sees him. Jumped off, the demon lords instantly airborne beside her bride. Her arms caught his falling form with such gentleness that he probably didn't feel she already got him. One hand under his delicate neck, while the other one is holding him by thighs. Kyuu. Tiny arms wrapped around her neck. Kyuubi the demon lord looked down and sees something that will go to her wet dream next time she sleeps. Her bride is looking at her with blush covering his face, probably because how gentle she carried him and teary eyes, the latter probably because he was already gotten sick in air and yet cannot go down. I'm here landed on the large bed softly. Kyuubi leaned down her face and kissed her bride's teary eyes. And she didn't stop until she can't see any tears left on his eyes. Eehehe. Feeling tickled by his friend kisses, Naruto let out small, cute giggles that to Kyuubi sound like a beautiful chiming sound. Nara stopping her barrage of kisses, Kyuubi stares at his pink lips, but shook her head seconds later. Not yet. Why yes. Keikyuu. He's still not able to talk clearly, even calling her by simple Kyuu instead of Kyuubi. Whether it was intentional or not, she didn't know, but she honestly wants him to keep calling her that while she calls him Naru. It makes them truly like a husband and wife. I've prepared someone that will be your teacher until you catch up to everything you missed. Do you have any problem with that? Her answer come in the form of her bride palms that clutching into her kimono with fear-filled face. You don't need to worry, she looks like us. Though she in question can also dispatch her own head as if it was not supposedly there in the first place. You believe me, right? Letting the boy stood in front of her, Kyuubi sat, and already expect it when the boy sat in her lap while rubbing his face to her neck. Arms wrapped around her neck. And Naru, PP person, scary. The woman that'll teach you is not scary, Naru. You can take my words for it, Kyuubi said with gentle kisses to her bride's neck. Her sleeved arms wrapped around him like snakes that didn't want to let go their prey. MMNNN. Naruto, liking the attention given to him, pulled his friend closer to his neck. Then nodded at her words, even though it was kind of hesitant. Good, let's meet up with her then. Kyuubi didn't show it outwardly, but when she pulled away and noticed her bride's neck only gain pink hue from her gentle kisses, she was kinda disappointed. She really wants to make it gain purple bite marks. MMNN. The boy himself merely bobbed his head up and down, agreeing with his friend that he's latching into. Didn't even realize his slightly pink neck, but do notice how that place now kinda warmer. Alright, hang on. Wrapped her bride in her Haori's sleeves, Kyuubi pulled the boy closer to her chest, letting his face resting on her neck while she's holding him by his thighs. Do you comfortable? The boy nodded, his hands on his friend's neck tightened slightly to secure his grab. Oha. Gotten his words, Kyuubi jumped off. In front of her, a protective sigil was created, not letting the harsh wind touch her bride. Later, Kyuubi's castle is as big as all 5 biggest hidden villages combined and times 3, something that has perfectly terrified the whole nations. However, despite that, the library of such huge construct is not that big. Wuo. Something that was denied by the only human inside the demon castle with his scream of awe. Most demons that's reading books snapped their eyes at him, ready to send their killing intent to the one that interrupted their reads, only to face against the evil crimson eyes of their lord. Gulp. Annoyed or not, the demons inside the library instantly turned their eyes back into their books, though they did get curious and sometimes would eyeing the human boy that is their lord's new bride. This is the first time they see him after all. And let's just said, most of them didn't find the human that worthy. He's still a child. That's the first. Secondly, he seemed naive and childish, something that most demons find annoying. And lastly, he doesn't seem know how to fight, seen from his weak and fragile-looking body. Of course, with dark energy pulsing out from his body every time he breath out, they knew he's already marked by their lord. Which mean no hurting him unless they want to die in the most painful way. With Kyuubi eyeing her subordinates inside the library, Kyuubi found herself frowning. Most of them hide it well, but she can sense their distastes for her bride clearly, inwardly shrugging her shoulders, as it not like they can hurt her bride. Kyuubi looked down at her bride with her usual cold red eyes, something that's strangely noticed by her bride as his own eyes looked up to her with his usual brightness. Keikyuu. Nothing, you just really cute today now that I see you again. The boy let out small yae, and latched into her neck while nuzzling his nose into her cheek in happiness. Kyuubi almost smiled from this, but because there's too many of her subordinates around, she didn't do such a thing and merely place her large palm behind her bride's head and pull his face closer to her cheek. Sometimes, his tiny lips would touch her skin, and it was honestly pleasure her more than anything she ever felt. If her shivers is any indication, add the fact her bride probably doesn't know what he's doing to her, it arouses her more. Let's go, we have made Yuri wait for too long. Kyuubi then walks upstairs with her bride still latching into her neck like some sort of adorable leech. On the way, She made sure that her subordinates know that her rule is still there and glared hard toward one minotaur that dare huff to her bride. Its cow-like head exploded from unseen force, as the demons nearby began to shivering in fear, now not daring to even take a glance at their lord's bride. Omu's sound. What is? It's not of your concern. Naruto probably heard the sound of Minotaur's head getting destroyed from inside out. Naruto tried to lift his head, though was stopped by Kyuubi's palm that makes sure that his face is still on her neck. Her gentle voice is as calming as the warm winds on his ear, turning it red. Alright. Innocent enough that he didn't know anything sexual, the boy merely nodded at his friend's neck. His ear is still warm from Kyuubi's breath, but now aren't so red anymore. It takes the two several minutes before they reached the deepest part of the library. On the way, Naruto had tried to lift his head again for several times, cannot resisting his curiosity. But unfortunately for his bubbling curiosity, Kyuubi could see some of her underlings still don't like him much and killed some of them that dare to glared at him. And so, she kept forced his face into her neck every time he tried to lift his head. He had pouted then, something that he had seen when some child in the village denied something by their parents or siblings. His hands on his friends tighten a bit in small show of displeasure. Kyuubi noticed this, but decided to not care about it. After all, she don't want him to see headless corpses of all demons that dared to glares at him. She will protect him innocent and pure heart as long as she can, even if it means to lock him up in her room for eternity. When the two reached their destination, or Kyuubi's, with Naruto merely ride along, the boy tried to lift his head once again. And surprisingly, his friend let him do that this time. The first thing he noticed is that he already moved to another room, but this room is also filled with books. So many of them that the boy found himself looking all of them with wide eyes. Though, what caught his attention is the woman that sat behind the counter, reading a book with calm eyes. But she stood and bow immediately after she see Kyo and said eyes seem waver when she's staring at him. Her attire, her hair's color, also her smell. Everything's familiar to him. Maski squirmed in his wife's grasp. Naruto jumped off and immediately ran toward the demon maid that was kind to him. He hugged her tightly around the waist while tiptoeing. His head only reached her under bust. For some reason, the demon he hugged are shaking for a little bit, but not for long as before he could get curious. She immediately wraps her arms around him, albeit with shaking hands. In her embrace, Naruto feels safe for some reason. It was also kinda different from hugs from Kyo. If Kyo's hugs feel like a cage that will keep him safe no matter what, Naruto feel the hugs from Maski is warmer, and he just feel like sleeping while being hugged by her. It was just that relaxing. With Kyuubi she doesn't like this, there's no ouch of her like this even for a bit. Her bride, her first and only love hugging someone that is not her. And from the fact he seems so happy while doing it make her not liking this situation more and more. She had glared at Yuri then. Happy when the woman shaking from her killing intent. But unhappy because she had felt her bride felt slightly unhappy from the fact the demon he hugs is yet to return said hugs, which compel her to stop her killing intent-filled glare. When Yuri gulped in fear and returned the hugs given to her, Kyuubi resist her urge to impale the woman's head and make it into decorative for all to see, simply because she felt her bride are filled with so much happiness from such gesture. Enough, come here narrow her baby bride blinking for several times and tilted his adorable head in confusion from her order. But nonetheless, he smiled and stopped doing the hug with her maid, then ran toward her before latching into her right leg like it was some kind of big teddy bear. It still did its job and dissipated some of her anger though, and with her bride already back to her side, Kyuubi found herself restrained from any kind of negative emotion. It as if his positive emotion washed away any negative from her. Though she also just notices that his height in only reaching her groin area now that they stood side by side. He's so tiny, or she's the one too tall. Whichever it is, Kyuubi can't deny that the fact her bride is so tiny make her aroused. Yuri, you seem to know him. But let me introduce you to, this cutie in my arm is my bride, Naruto Uzumaki. And Nara, this woman is one of my trusted maids, her name is Yuri Alpha. She'll be the one that teach you to read, to talk, and also some common sense among who demon, do treat her with respect and don't latch into her like that ever again. In the first sentence, Kyuubi glared at Yuri for a second while saying my word. Making said maid bowed her head befitting of maid asking for forgiveness. Hands clasped on her skirt. It was success, but when Kyuubi talked to her bride, her words seemed to only confuse the boy. Respect. Lalasi. It was obvious he understood that the masky demon that had been kind to him is Yuri Alpha, and she'll be the one that'll teach him about reading and talk more. However, with limited knowledge he has, it was obvious he didn't understand the meaning of this respect and latch. For a few seconds, Kyuubi just stared at her bride that seemed honestly confused. Her mouth opened, but then closed without any sound come out. She can't dump her words. After all, if she dumps that two words, respect will become like. And she don't want her bride to like the woman that was nothing but a pet to her. At the same time, latch will become hug, which mean her bride could still become close to the woman without any hugs. Forget it. From now on you shall spend your time with Yuri to learn about basic knowledge, do you understand? It was obvious she's kinda annoyed for the situation, which leaked from the demon lord's words, though perhaps didn't seem to notice, said demon's bride merely smiles innocently at his wife. Yuan. And Naru. You understand good, you can start now, I have something to do, thus not being able to be here with you if the woman that will teach the boy is not Yuri. Kyuubi know he'll latch into her while shaking his head. Then he probably begs her to be with him as he learn. It was her plan at the beginning. She wanted her bride to be dependent on her, so much that he couldn't do anything without her. But it seems that plan is now backfired. She didn't know that her bride already liked Yuri to this margin, and if she left him alone now with the woman, he probably creates some kind of bond with Yuri. It makes her grit her teeth inwardly. However, Kyuubi didn't expect her bride to tighten his hug on her right leg, and when she looks down, she could see him looking at her with cute, wide, pleading eyes of his. KQ. And not, W with me. One look to his heart is all it took for her to realize. No matter how he viewed Yuri as, his friend Kyu is the one closest to his heart, more than anyone. And it makes her very happy. Later Naruto was happy. His head is hurting, true, but he's still happy. Yuri-chan taught him so many things, mostly about basic hiragana and katakana, and he's proud that he already memorized them all and can read basic words by now. However, even though he's proud, Yuri-chan didn't seem so happy. She even looked almost angry, and he had asked her if she perhaps angry at him, meekly if one could say. She had merely raised one of her eyebrows, then rubbed his head that made him feel warm and tingly. He really liked her gentle nature toward him. I'm not angry at you, Naruto-sama. I'm just angry at the villagers that didn't even teach you how to read. It really makes him confused. Why should she angry at them? After all, he's a demon, and human don't like demon, of course they wouldn't teach him. He understood their reason to hate him. When he told Yuri-chan this, she had looking at him as if he suddenly grew a new pair of head. Then stares at Kyu-chan that decided to stay with him after he begged her to stay. Kyu-chan didn't say anything and merely nods. And the two then looked at him with something that Naruto cannot read. Well, he only knew glares and distaste. After all, he is yet to learn about other expression. Whatever their expression means, Naruto felt embarrassment as his cheeks flushed red. At the same time, he looked down while poking his thumbs together adorably. Something that made Kyu decided that today class must come to an end. And despite his whines of displeasure, she just ignored them altogether and scooped him up and teleported to their bedroom. What she did? Well, she did something that he rather not experience again. She kissed his tummy, along with some bites here and there, something that made him in laughing fit. And despite he had begged her to stop, she didn't. His hands tried to push her hands away, but as leader of demon she is, it was just futile attempt. As for how long she did that, well, until he passed out from too many laughs. And that's why he rather not to experience it again. With Konoha, what do you mean he's gone? Hiruzen Sarutobi, the professor and god of shinobi, slammed his fist on the desk, his eyes glaring dagger at his umbu. The 12 years since Kyuubi attack has not been good for Konoha. Not with the Kyuubi in question live so near, yet so far from them. After all, everyone in the village could see the tower that thrusted into the sky itself. And if they follow said tower, which could take at least 3 days of Jounin ninja speed, they would arrive in the palace of demon. Everyone inside Konoha could see the tower every day, when they wake up from sleep, when they got home from work, and when they just stared at the sky. And it always makes them feel despair every time they see the tower. It reminds them how their peaceful days suddenly become nightmare filled with uncertainty in overnight. It just as I said, Hokage-sama, I don't know when, but you know how Naruto-sama is very good at stealth. When I blinked, he was gone, and while for some minutes I thought it will be alright because Naruto-sama always come back, it was not after some hours that I began to panic and start to find him along with some Inuzukas and Hyugas. We didn't find him Hokage-sama great. Sighing tiredly, Hiruzen Sarutobi leaned on his chair. His eyes look almost dead. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the son of his late successor the fourth Hokage. There's a reason why he hid the child's heritage. For one, he's an Uzumaki, they're known for their large reserve of chakra. The demonic army will surely demand him for tribute when they herd any living real Uzumaki lives in Konoha. Second, he's the son of Yondaime Hokage, the one that almost defeated the mighty Kyuubi. Surely the demon would not let the son of its greatest enemy since Hashirama and Madara alive. Not only that, but Iwa and Kumo will surely dare themselves to attack weakened Konoha to snatch the probably last Uzumaki and the legacy of Yondaime if they heard the smallest of words. And the third, he didn't want the child to become a big head like some Uchiha and Hyuga from his peers' constant praise. I just want him to grow up like his dad and become a genius from his own hard work. The kid will become great, just like his father if given chance. Not by force from other, but by his own will. But now he's gone, and the day he's gone Hiruzen had given a report that the demon's army is also gone. Which mean only one thing. I'm sorry. Minato-kun, Kushina-chan. I failed both of you know. The demon may has gotten their hand on the little Uzumaki, but there's a chance that the Kyuubi is yet to eat the boy. Fire ignited once again on the old Hokage size as he stares into his Umbuon. Assembly 2 scout team, 2 chaser, and 1 stealth team. I have an SS rank mission for you. So many failures, but Minato had believed his only child care on his hands. There's no way he's going to give up just like that. He's old, and perhaps in a few years he would die and go to Pure Land. And if he's going to go there, he wants a peace meeting with his beloved late wife, not to be greeted by Raisin to gut and chains going at him like some sort of snake from 2 pissed parents. Then again, one thing he don't want to meet is Naruto himself in the Pure Land, as it will probably eat his heart more than anything to see such a young child on the heaven land for shinobi. A week later repeat after me, concussion con, concussion, concussion, concussion. Getting his tongue right. The supposedly husband of the demon Lord Kyuubi jumped off from Yuri's lap to his feet and start to dance cutely, his hands waving around as he cheered for himself. Happiness radiates from his skins like some kind of virus that almost make Yuri tugged up her lips. Naruto-sama. Not that she would let him do as he please, the bride of demon lord or not, she will punish this cutie if he starts misbehaving, even if it means to spanks him until he cries. I hope you know that your lesson isn't over yet. Opening her arms, Yuri waited until her little lord sat in her lap before her left arm secure him in place by wrapping over his stomach. His back head resting on her large breast. Why Yuri-chan isn't angry, right? Meekly, the boy squeezed on the sleeve of Yuri's left arm, only for it to tighten so he didn't jump off once again like before. And it almost makes him pout, if not for her next words. I'm not angry Naruto-sama, but I will if you continue to be so childish. Once again tighten her grip on her dear master, Yuri inwardly pleased when said master mewled in slight uncomfortable. You don't want me to spank you again, right? Yuri won't say it to anyone, not even to her Lord Kyuubi, but she's in fact a sadist. Well, demons usually are one though. Except few races of demons that's submissive. Yuri no, she loved it when her gloved palm slapped against her lord's cute bare bottom. Her eyes glued to said bottom when they jiggled like some sort of twin, soft jelly. And she even had a small ejaculation when his noise of pain reached her ears. Me don't want Yuri-chan to punish me again, shaking his head as if his life depends on it. Naruto's palm shakes slightly while clutching into Yuri's arm that's holding him. He really doesn't want to get punished again, though he's kinda curious of why Yuri-chan seemed happy when she's punished him. He had seen that her face seemed as if going to smiles after all. Oh well, if small amount of pain can make his friend happy, he doesn't mind. After all, as much Yuri-chan's slap pained his butt, it was nothing compared to what the human had done to him. The only reason he doesn't want to get punished by Yuri's mostly because he's afraid the probability she does it because she hated or disappointed with him. Good boy Naruto smiles when he could sense happiness from his friend, and said smiles grow when her grasp on him loosen and said palms start to play with his tummy. Later, hours after hours studying, in the end Naruto let out a big, yet still cute home. His tiny palm rubbed his eyes that seemed tired. Perhaps knew that it was probably his limit. Yuri closed the book in her hand. Her other hand though, started to pull him closer into her bosom, where he could use her breast as semblance of pillow. Naruto-sama, are you sleepy? She didn't really know, because as demon, she doesn't really need to sleep, nor she need to eat anything. Negative emotion from human alone is enough for her and few other demons. She's after all, a Dullahan. Of course, some demon do need a sleep and consume, like vampire for example. No, me is. Suddenly, like a doll that got its strings cut off, Naruto's body become limp. Naruto-sama. Already familiar with the boy, Yuri frowned. He never did something like this. And from the fact his heartbeat is kind of slow, it meant there's no way he's sleeping. Passed out? But why? Yuri no human, they could pass out from hard exercise until their body hit the limit. But, her lord didn't even do anything except memorizing some words and kanji. There's no way he could passed out from that reason. Wait, now that she thinks about it. He's human, thinking he's a demon. And the only demons near him for the last 7 days is only me and Lord Kyuubi. Both also can sustain themselves without any foods. There's only one logical answer. He starved himself to the point he passed out. This proved when the boy's stomach let out a small, gurgling sound. Yuri's eyes widened by small margin as hurriedly, she scooped her lord into her arms. Her lord Kyuubi won't be pleased. No, but Yuri knew she need to bring her lord's bride to her before making any decision. After all, the boy is yet allowed to meet with other demons. No, without the lord presence. Then again, there's no foods in the kitchen that can be consumed by human like him. Yuri no, her lord probably going to pillage and destroy nearest village to get some foods for her adorable bride. Kyuubi is just that overprotective toward him. Then again, she never cared about any human except her bride. With nothing but intention, Yuri make a protective sigil in front of her so her lord's bride won't get hurt from the wind that will pass. And then, she's gone with nothing but a speed. Behind her, a small crack in the floor could be seen. Within the throne of demon lord with a blur, Yuri's form appeared on top of the right handle of humongous throne, right beside a small imp that seemed have finished its report. Kyuubi mountainous form shifted slightly, her eyes switched to her maid as her claw moved very lazily, signaling the imp to go away. Said imp merely bowed, then teleported away. What happened, Yuri? I thought I have made it clear that my bride is to not to see my real form. The voice of Demon Lord shook the room itself, creating a small, yet still noticeable earthquake. That too, only because Kyuubi talked gently to not awake her bride. Her roar can shake the very world itself if she wanted it after all. Your Highness. Still clutching into her lord's bride, Yuri bowed in forgiveness. Please forgive this lowly servant, but I believe Naruto-sama has passed out because he's yet to eat for a week and she can't do anything to help him. I see there's a growl inside these 2 words. Growl filled with nothing but malice. And just like what Yuri had expect, her lord next order is just like what she had thought merely minute ago. Tell the orc group to join with the harpies. The orcs' mission is annihilation and the harpies' mission is to get all supplies within 2 hours. I don't want to prolong my bride's suffering if I can help it. Yes, Your Highness. Shuffling her lord's bride position so she can hold him with one hand, Yuri's right hand's index finger goes to her right ear. A small magical circle appears beside her ear and in front of her mouth. She relayed the order of her lord to the demon she's speaking with then, not even forgetting to add the 2 hours time limit, but didn't explain of why their lord ordering them this mission. After all, they're demons, they live to serve and to be meat shield if she ever wanted, not to question their lord. After everything is relayed, Yuri cut the connection, knowing the mission is going to be all right. The nearest small villages, small after all. No warrior, no shinobi, no samurai, and obviously, no hero. HMP, hero, they're probably already extinct from how much corrupted the world is. Anyway, that nearest small village probably destroyed within first hour. Their orc troop is one of their middle-class troops after all. And their harpy troop, despite merely low class compared to other, is one of their fastest troop. Give him to me. I want to make sure he's alright. One of Kyuubi's large tail went to Yuri, and gently, the maid placed the boy in the care of his mate. Tail, large enough to wrap around a mountain and strong enough to crush said mountain, wrapped softly around the boy, so tender that the tiny human merely mewed pleasantly from the tender care of the demon lord's tail. Slowly, the tail went to Kyuubi's fox-like face and stopped right in front of her nose. Crimson eyes as large as building stares at the tiny human she calls her bride. And as this happened, Yuri merely watching. With Kyuubi so cute, her bride is. Just like a week ago, Kyuubi find herself can't help but transfixed at her lover passed out form. Well, talk about passed out. Just what's wrong with her bride honestly? She had ordered her imp to search any information about her bride, and let just said, instead getting information she want, she merely get more question that need to be answered. Her imp already busted through Konoha's information office and Konoha's hospital. Yet there's only one file about her bride, which didn't even tell her anything about him except his name. Everything is unknown within said file, even the boy's blood type. It as if no one is allowed to know who is the boy truly. Such secretive for someone that's not even a ninja. With another tail, Kyuubi used the tip to caress her bride's neck, to his chest, then up again until it reaches his lips. His gentle and warm breath hit her sensitive tail's tip and almost made her want nothing except to shove her tail into his mouth. Most human-made legend that anyone that become a demon's bride will be tortured for the rest of their life, chained to wall and forced to breed demon after demon. Honestly, it's not 100% baseless, but the perception is the one wrong there. Demon are possessive, what theirs is theirs. Very few demons accept to share their bride and love in life. So, while demon do treat their bride with nothing but love and care, they are still cruel enough to chain their bride to wall and rape him / her day after day until their love think only about them. Some even so cruel to break their bride. I'm not that cruel. Her love is young and pure, his innocent can be seen even without knowing him in person. It made her almost feel bad because she almost forgot to feed him. Then, again, her blessings on him didn't even alert her, which mean that while it true that he feel hunger, his body is still perfect. Such blessing probably from god / goddess of tenacity. What's the situation of orc and harpies troops? Let me check for a bit. Your Highness. Kyuubi ignores her subordinate as once again, she stares at her lover with gaze that probably could swallow even divinity themselves. Though not that she had break her gaze away from him in the first place. He's so cute, from the way his lips moving gently as he mumble in his sleep, to his eyes that trying to open, but can't because she has cast heavy sleeping spell on him to prevent him from seeing her real form, to his nose that twitch cutely every time her tail furs brushed against his adorable button. She's so going to rape him with the force that can break the bed when he reaches 12 years old. Firstly, she just needs to wait for him to awake and well fed so she can ask him when his birthday and how old he is. Something that supposedly she didn't need to do if only his file in the village isn't so guarded. Your Highness, from what I can gather, the orcs and harpies met some resistance from the ninjas that was on the mission there. Orcs lose only 1 and harpies loses around 6 newbies. I see. What of the enemies? The enemies are 3 genin and 1 jounin commander. From what I heard, it seems they only attacked the 1 orc that wandered away and 6 harpies that chased after them, but didn't attack again once they realize orcs and harpies true numbers. Good. Humans should just tremble as they see us. Resistance is futile, they just haven't realized this. 1 orc and 6 harpies? That can't even be called as loss. Orcs breeds and birth every single day without pause. It's one of the reasons that orcs troop is on the middle tier despite their lower class race. As for harpies, well, they always kidnap and XXXX human males every time they're on raid, then killed said male. And even if they didn't do that, they can still get go with another demon for breeding purpose. The only one didn't do that is only the queen, as she need to find the one with strong life force and said life force must resonance with her. Now I'm pretty curious on how the queen still survive as she can only gave birth to another queen if her partner is the one she love, which mean a human. As mostly demon with demon almost never breed out of love, only lust. Oh, how curious. Maybe she needs to ask the queen when she visit. Leaving that as afterthought, Kyuubi transform into her human form, her hands cradle her love with nothing but gentleness. Call me when the harpies bring the supplies, I'll be in my chamber with him. Yes, Your Highness. Kyuubi ignores her subordinate's bow as she dashed to her room. So fast that any ninja seeing this probably thought it as flicker technique. In the cave near the attacked village. A boy, clad in a mix of blue and white, gritted his teeth as his teammate wrapped some bandage on his upper right arm. Oh hush you're a boy, don't be such a baby. Uchiha, a girl, clad in white, with white eyes, glared at the boy, her lips etched in sneer for a second. But when her teacher gave her the look, she huffed and merely watched as the sky filled with smoke and her ears drums with scream of help from the people killed by the demon army. Her palm gripped the air tightly, so tight that if pushed a little bit more, her palm would bleed. And her eyes, blessed with the power of Hyuga, glared to the way of the village. Said glare is not so simple because she can see everything that happening. You don't need to see that, Hinata. Our job is only to deliver a package. We are not ready to help invasion from demons, the girl's teacher said gently, and despite his words rang true, Hinata still could see his slightly narrowed eyebrows, his twitched eye and his tightening palm with her all-seeing eyes. Which mean he didn't even believe what he said, despite how true it is. I know, sensei, but if it's him, he would gladly to put himself in harm's way to save as many people as possible. Didn't know what's on the mind of his student. The teacher of the girl stood up and pats her on the shoulder. I know it's hard, Hinata, but this is our job. We didn't become ninja to help people, but to become a mercenary, not a hero to save the day. The truth is always bitter pill to swallow, but Hinata can accept that. She's shinobi, she has become one to protect those who dear to her, not to protect everyone. But why, sensei? The girl that since beginning silence said suddenly, her pink hairs is bad matchup for her current job. And despite the tremble in her voice, her hands still dutifully tended on the wound of her teammate. It just the way it is, Sakura. We're killers, assassin, and despite unlike demons, we're too creatures of darkness. Kakashi feel bad because his words probably break these children's dream. But if there's one thing coming good from this, these children will treat their job with much more serious. With Kyuubi within her chamber, the Lord of Demons stares at the rooftop of her room, where snakes of hell, slithering hopelessly, but still consent that they could be of use for their lord, even though it's only as room decoration. Funny as their race once was feared by human and demon-like within lower mid-tiers. What should she do to expand her territory? That's what on Kyuubi's mind right now. Her empire is large, much larger than 5 hidden villages times 3. But it's not enough, and probably will never enough. She wants armies, so big that even the heaven trembles before her might. And when the heaven runs around like headless chicken, she will wage war on them. And it shall be glorious. Deep in her thought, Kyuubi looked down to her chest when she felt small movement. Most likely from her bride that slowly gained conscious. And true to her thought, his eyes gently fluttered. Keikyuu. What happened? His words are no longer with shudder, except a little tiny bit. Though it was mostly because he just awakened, his tiny hands rubbed on his eyes, trying to readjusted his blurring sight. Finding this act cute, Kyuubi's both arms raised the boy by his bottom until his face right in front of hers. And her lips begin to kisses his eyes until he can't even open them. All the while her palms began to kneads on his soft buns. Keikyuu. Stop it, but alas, the lord of all demons didn't heed into her own husband plead and keep kissing his eyes. After a while, which seemed like hours for Naruto, in the end his friend stopped her barrage of kisses, leaving him panting with red face, mostly because how tired he is after tried to move away from his friend, only for her to grab him and attacks him once again. Glad it's end though. Pout didn't make the boy less annoyed though. He had tried to open his eyes several times to no avail, as he was forced to closes them lest Kyuu's lips going to touch his eyeballs, which he's sure gonna be hurt. To Kyuu, it was cute how he kept tried to open his eyes, only for her to kiss said opening eyes. But to Naruto, it was annoying, less than kissed in his tummy until passed out. True, but still annoying nonetheless. I see you has awaking. Pout the boy merely makes his pout bigger, upset that his friend didn't seem to care that he's upset at her kisses. Did she though that he will forgive her just because she's patting and playing his buns? And yes, Kyuubi's indeed still playing with her bride's cute bottom. Don't pout if you don't want me to kiss you again, Kyuubi said with slight growl. Not in malevolent way, but in a way to show that she's the alpha in this relationship. Her fangs slightly barred, though didn't seem to make her bride flinch. If nothing else, he just huffed and threw his face away from his wife, then calmly sit on her wide stomach without care in the world. The sight of his bare body, because she will sleep with him only when he's nude, is enough to shut Kyuubi's mouth, though her palms still playing with his buns. To most people, it was probably nothing impressive, as his body is even lither than normal 11 years old. But Kyuubi's is not human. The largest minotaur could dance in front of her and showed her his muscles, and she will feel nothing but impulse and disgust toward him. But Naruto is different. He's not nobody in her life. To her, the sight of his milky white skins dancing above her stomach is enough to make her feel the smallest sign of flutter in her heart. His blue eyes that sometimes peeked at her, his face still faced to anywhere except her, curiously made her mind slightly numb from cuteness that's happening in front of her. Even then, Kyuubi still doesn't show any reaction except a raised eyebrow. She could feel his emotion, how the boy are not really annoyed at her, merely trying to act like one to see her reaction. Funny thing is, anyone could guess as such without ability. The boy's eyes, after all, are just that honest. Anyway, Kyuubi let him do his act, as from what she could gather, the boy is still pretty naive and easily gotten curious about anything. Such thing, though, is only expected from human around 5 to 7 years old. Nodded inwardly, as she slips this information at the back of her mind, Kyuubi continues her playing with her bride's buttock, kneading and trailing her large palms on her personal belonging that is her bride's bottom. Say, Naru, why didn't you tell me if you're hungry? The boy flinched, his eyes going downward as his thumbs began to play with each other in nervousness. Kyuubi know the reason, but really, she wants to hear it from his own mouth to see whether her and Yuri's assumption is correct or not. And Nara, don't wanna Kyu to hate. And why would I hate you from that? Crimson eyes bore into the boy's own, making his gaze much downward. He didn't respond and merely stay like that for several minutes. The only movement he does is poking his thumbs with each other. Kyuubi is patient, simply because her palms is still playing with her bride's cute butt and don't seem to be bored of it even after minutes had passed. It even makes her much more appreciative of said butt because she finds herself transfixed by them. Half an hour later though, the boy is yet to talk. And in the end, Kyuubi decide to be the one give up and stood. Her large arms scooped her bride with gentleness and let him place his face on the crook of her neck as her own is on his bundles of soft hairs. He smells like blueberries. Let's eat. I'm hungry. She didn't sense any change in her bride's emotion, but she still could feel how his lips on her neck tugged very slightly, as if amused and slightly happy. Dining room. While Kyuubi indeed don't have any need to eat and can survive without consume anything, it still doesn't mean she didn't make a dining room to show how glorious her rule is. Large, yet not as large as her throne room, the dining table takes most of the space in the room. And around said table, chairs have been spread, 4 for left and right side, and at the head chair, the master throne sat, symbol of 9-tailed fox on top of it. And surprisingly, the master throne is a good size for Kyuubi's human form and not her true form. Whoa, it's so cool. Kyuo latching on his wife's back, Naruto let out his awe at the new room Kyuo show him. His eyes went wide in awe. He never seen dining room this large, because in Konoha he only had nothing but a small chair and table where he can eat inside his apartment. Sometime, he would also eat in dump, where he found said foods before someone take it away from him. And this room size is what make him curious just how the taste of the foods will be. He can't wait. Maybe sense his anticipation, and twinge of sadness, Kyuubi just silent and sat in the master chair. And after placing her bride in her lap and make sure he's comfortable, she clapped twice. Bring in the foods. It was then, Naruto could see truly just how caring his friend could be to him. 20 or so, Yuri-chan already taught him to count. Fortunately, demons come in, each of them looks very different compared to him and Kyuo-chan. Some has horns, dog-like face, some look like a lizard and some look like puddle. Of course, Kyuo-chan already told him that the only demons that could look like him and her is only high-ranked demon, while the lower-ranked would look like animal or just puddle. It made sense to him, so that's why the people in Konoha hate him so much. It because he's practically a royalty within demon line for some reason. He felt proud for it. Anyway, 20 or so maids are holding so many foods above their head, and one by one, they place said foods on the table in front of him. He can't help but stares. So many foods, each also smell so good and tickling his nose pleasantly. It's so different compared to the foods inside of garbage. Keikyuu. His wavering eyes looked up to his wife in uncertain manner, his palms clutching into her black silk dress tremblingly. Of course, noticed this, Kyuubi looked down to him with her cold eyes. She don't need her abilities to know what he feels right now. Happiness, sadness, uncertain, grateful, all mixing into one big mass of something that make him almost in tears. Everything's for you. She so wanted to kiss that trembling lips of his, but know that he's still starving and need to eat fast. Kyuubi just leaned down and kissed him on his cheek, something that make his wavering eyes turn wide. Next time, if you need something, be it foods or something you want, you just need to tell me. I will give it to you. Do you understand? To the near maids that's lining up after place the foods on the table, their lord is demanding that to her bride with such dark tone that make them terrified by hearing it alone. But to Naruto, it was heartwarming. His tummy area feels something fluttering inside, and it's pleasant enough for him to smile, so big that Kyuubi can't help but taken aback. Unknown to him, smallest of blush could be seen on his cheeks. Hi, Kyuu. With Kakashi's group I'm going, Hinata said suddenly as Team 7 sat in the circle inside a cave. Her Byakugan still watching the village miles away from their position. Hinata, I told you that we're assassins that have family, have friends, have comrades, and most importantly, we're assassins with beating heart. Hinata stood, totally ignoring her teacher as her eyes still locked into the village's position. He had been called demon by people back home. He had been abused constantly since the day I know him, and I dare bet long before that. I watched him starving without foods. I watched him beaten to pulp. But you know what, sensei? Here, Hinata eyes goes to Kakashi's and glares hard. He never stopped smiling to any of you when the watcher hates you people so much, so forgive me when I say your words is shit. And with that as her last words, Hinata dashed to the village. Behind her, Kakashi could only looking at her running form with shame-filled eyes. It was obvious that Hinata knew that he was one among the people who watched Naruto from the shadow at the order from Lord Hokage. Her Byakugan is one among the most advanced in her family after all, so seeing someone's signature and memorize it should be easy for her. So that's why she hates me so much. However, her hate is biased. If she thought about it in more detail, Hinata should have realized that week ago when Naruto disappear is the date of her getting accepted into ninja program and the date of her little bell test. So he wouldn't have knew about Naruto's kidnapping. After all, he was the one testing them. My head aching. Kakashi rubs his aching head slowly. He just hopes nothing could get wrong anymore. Kakashi-sensei, who's Hinata talking about? Is it P perhaps the bee-blonde demon? Oh right, he totally jinxed it. Sakura, the only child of council member Haruno, the one raised to believe that Naruto was the reason Kyuubi attacked the village years ago, said with shudder, as if talking about Naruto itself is a taboo to her. I need a break with Hinata. Stop it, please. That day was winter, and just like other winter, the snow falls without any rest. Under a tree covered by snows, young Hinata was hugging her knees with tears pouring hard from her eyes. But it didn't make any of her attacker stops. Well, look at that. She's crying. Come on, freak. Show us what can your eyes do. They didn't wait or anything, as after they scooped a ball of snow, they threw it toward Hinata, hurting her from the force and make her shivering badly from the cold balls. Stop. To Hinata, the back of someone around her age with blonde hairs would visit her dreams for years. Because that day is the first and the only time someone had protected her. Jumping from tree to tree, Hinata shook her head and focused her Byakugan once again into the village that was getting attacked. The sight disgusted her, but she had no time as sudden gale of winds force her to dodge to the right. Fortunately make whatever attacked her missed. Well, to think you would come back, little girl. Green wings flaps, and green-haired harpy smiles ever beautifully. And if Hinata was born male, she would admit the harpy have a very alluring body. I have no time for this. Byakugan flared with much more focus. Hinata dashed to the harpy with surprising speed, palm opened. The harpy merely sidestepped and swiped her right wing down to claw at the little girl. Clang! Claw met Kunao as Hinata unsheathed one from her thigh holster. Her Byakugan glaring at the harpy ferociously, though it only makes said harpy licked her lips seductively. The two trades blow after blow for minutes. Sometimes Hinata would push the harpy while sometimes the opposite happens. But like a match of chess, none of the two backed down and flipped the situation again and again. This happened not for too long, as soon, the two separate their distance with one attack. Hinata ended sticking on the tree while her opponent stood above a branch. You're surprisingly good, little girl. Say, what's your name? Born in nobility made Hinata no courtesy, and albeit it was hard, in the end she let her enemy know her name. Her legs still spread and her palms went into her family taijutsu stance though. Hinata, my name is Hinata Hyuga, cute name for a cute girl. The harpy once again licked her lips in seductive manner, but didn't attack and merely stood in a tree branch opposite of Hinata. Her wings folded, mocking and ignoring the readying state of Hinata. My name is Monette, the general of Harpy Squad Chidori. As if the incoming attack doesn't matter, Monette sidestepped from Kakashi's infamous move. And as this happened, her eyes never leave Hinata's. You have my attention, Hinata. I hope next time you could hit me though, Kukiko. Like a ghost, Monette's form began to disperse into a snow that getting picked by winds. Seeing this, Hinata widened her eyes. Bloodline limit. Looking around, Hinata cannot see just where her enemy had gone. It as if Monette have truly become snow. Wait, snow. Looking back, true to her thought, the snow is no longer in its previous place. And knowing it mean her aggressor has retreated, Hinata relaxed her guard. A mistake on her part. Don't so easily drop your guard, cutie. Like a breeze, Hinata felt something warm pressed into her left cheek. And it was gone before she could even twitch her finger. No, she had been kissed. Hinata's eyes widen, her Byakugan deactivated at the same time. Pale skin turns into atomic blush as both embarrassment and rage fury filled Hinata's heart. Steam coming out from both of her ears from the feeling she never experienced before. Hinata, are you okay? Kakashi said as he walks toward her. Hands in pocket, but eyes watching his surrounding like a hawk. I am okay, we should go to the village now sensei, right? Maybe from her feeling, Hinata forgot her hate for her one-eyed teacher for seconds. And after Kakashi said his agreement, Hinata dashed toward the village once again. Behind her, Kakashi raised one of his eyebrows in confusion. All he seen is that Hinata suddenly gained blush on her cheeks after their enemy turned to snow and retreated. Glutton, that was the first thing crossed Kyuubi's head when she stares at her bride, that no, preying on the feast in front of him like a beast starved for years. Beside him, 100 or so plates already stacked. MNNQ, it's delish MPPMMH, the boy said while eating, his eyes looking up to her with genuine purity, but face stuffed until his cheeks bulged like some sort of hamster. Scrubs already resting in some part of his face. It was only simply because he's so cute right now that Kyuubi didn't have any heart to tell him to slow down his eating. Plus, he was starving, so she would just let him eat as he pleased right now. From the edge of her eyes though, Kyuubi could see her pet, Yuri, already gain a twitching eyebrow. But she also could sense understanding in her heart, maybe because Yuri come to the same conclusion as she was. Didn't mean Yuri won't try to get her bride to gain some kind of manner, of course. Demons value their image, and the higher class they are, the more they do so. That's why high-class vampire always has some kind of jewels on their bodies after all. Same like Kyuubi, she values her image, so she didn't live in a cave like some kind of animal. She built her own kingdom and castle, then fill it with treasure and underling. Her image is the highest among all demons within Elemental Nation right now. Closing her eyes, Kyuubi let one of her palms went toward her bride's head, petting him and combing his soft hairs with her fingers. Her other hand already wrapped around his waist to make sure he stays connected to her. He mewed in slight happiness under her, but mouth never stopped devouring all kinds of foods in front of him. He really is a glutton, it seems. Say, Naru. At Kyuu's call, Naruto med with bulging cheeks, eyes going up to her with curiosity. How old are you? She had told another troop of imp to gain any knowledge of her bride within Konoha, but they're yet to gain any new information about him. Of course, while at first, she wanted nothing but to lash out at the imps, she knew that they're far from incompetence when it came to information gathering. And so, she had told them to keep searching. She really wants to know everything about her bride. How old? Naruto paused at his wife's question. His tone was filled with confusion. Unknowingly, his head tilted adorably at the demon lord. Kyuubi feel like a cold pit appear on her stomach when her bride looking at her like that. She doesn't need her ability to know that he doesn't know anything about his own age. All she need is a glimpse to his eyes. Fuck. For the first in centuries, Kyuubi, the great demon lord, cursed inside her mind. But she wasn't one that wear her feeling on her sleeve, and that's why she keeps calm despite she wanted nothing but to curse loudly and start to kill something. Yes, now that you know how to count, we need to count your age, years from you born till now. People said patience bring good fortune and will give you reward. And while honestly Kyuubi is not one to believe such a thing, this time she began to think twice. Why? Because her bride's next answer, of course. Me born when bad red fox attacked, me think. When she attacked Konoha. Which mean, around 13 years ago. She forgot the date, however. Unknown to her, on her lips, an evil smile full of darkness and lust began to appear. Though, said evil smile gone when her bride looked up at her with his cutest smile. That's mean. Naruto's around 13, right, smiling at his wifey. Naruto gained a curious look on his face. How about Kyuubi? Me? Ominously, Kyuubi leaned down her face until their nose almost touching each other. Her eyes are very cold while her bride still smiling innocently, his eyes gazing into her own with warmth, obviously because she is his best friend and know that she won't hurt him, despite her very scary face right now. Unknown to Kyuubi, to Naruto, she looks very cool at the moment. And unknown to Naruto, Kyuubi had done this to several pets of her, and when she finished and leaned back her face, they had immediately pissed themselves. Eyes wide as if just met with the very darkness itself. I have forgotten. However, if I could take a guess, probably several thousand years has passed since my birth. Inwardly pleased because her bride doesn't look terrified despite their close proximity and her focused aura, Kyuubi said. Her lips smirked in a way that one of her fangs jutted out. At her glowing eyes, the nearby maids already began to look down in fear. Oh, the boy that is her bride looked surprised. He even stopped his feast altogether and span his body so that they're facing each other, and despite he sat in her lap, his height still won't even reaching her breasts if she sat straight. And without fear, one of his palms went to her cheek and touched her, while the other hand clutching on her dress. Do Kyuubi have any best friend? Thousand of years is long after all, Fae are longer than his measly 13 years old. She must have so many friends, demons and humans alike. After all, that's what he will do if he already life as long as hers, making friends here and there. Though, her next words broke his imagination as fast as it came. I have no friends, such things are worthless to me. I see. Naruto is really confused. He really wanted to ask why she thought that friend is worthless. But even though young he is, he understood that some people just don't like the idea to make friend here and there like him. For example, the black-haired boy in Konoha. Sassy something is his name if he's not wrong. But Naruto is Kyuubi's friend, right? The boy smiles, a hidden nervousness taint his pure smile. But to Kyuubi, it's too much obvious, which make her raised one of her eyebrows. You're not my friend, you're my bride, and you shall stand by my side, whether you want it or not. To the nearby maids, they gulped in fear at the tone their master used. So dominating, as if the words she spoke is a fact, and if her bride dare to oppose her, he would pay the price. Though to Naruto, his heart feel warmth. Thinking that his friend wants to be with him so badly to say that, he smiles happily. Her threat to him went in from left ear and went out from right ear. Kyuubi pure happiness radiates from him as Naruto stood on Kyuubi's lap and glomped on her head that almost as big as his stomach. His tiny hands reached out her head and locked behind it, pulling the head of Demon Lord into his clothed stomach. At the same time, his own face is snuggling on her soft hairs, the crimson locks that he likes so much, and inhaling its sweet, yet dangerous aroma. With Kyuubi she is baffled honestly, but her face doesn't show any of it as she simply enjoyed the hug from her bride. Why she's baffled? Well, she just threatened her bride, and for some reason, he found her words is touching. Of course, with her ability, one look to his heart, and she found out that her bride thought her words is something like I like being with you, so you will stand by my side, whether you want it or not. Not wrong per se, but how he stares into the bright side without even a glance to pessimistic made her really like his personality more. Of course, she found it cute when he cries too, but that's love she guesses. My bride has finished his feast, I will bring him to my chamber now, Kyuubi said after she stood and made her bride sat on her shoulders instead of latching on her face like some sort of leech, though the boy still happily snuggling on her hairs. After all, he could latch on her face as tight as he wants when she devours his body with her tongue and fangs. Yes, mistress, the order to clean up the mess is not lost to the maids as they began to move around professionally, taking the used plates back to the kitchen to be cleaned. And as this happened, Kyuubi merely turned around and started her gate to her chamber. For a small second, her grin is full of dark lust. This is it. Today, her bride will be eaten by her. His purity, his body, and soul, everything shall become hers fully. Their bond will reach new height when she finished with him. Or so it should be. Just as Kyuubi stood in front of the gate of hell that she using as the door to her bedroom, one of her pets, Solution appear, kneeling in reverence to her person. And it was only the reason she didn't kill her for delaying her on her way to feasting on her bride's body. What do you want, Solution? If it not of my concern, your life will be forfeit. The threat hangs in the air, and Solution know this, as sweat could be seen trailing on her forehead. Funny as she's a slime, and shouldn't be able to let out such thing as sweat. The reason Kyuubi didn't say her threat directly? Her bride that's currently staring at Solution as if he just found another friend to add into his list. Though he's silent, knowing it's rude to interrupt when someone inside of conversation. Yuri-sensei will spank his butts again if she ever heard of it. Good student he is, he remembers his teacher teaching and not doing what could made her angry. Your Highness, I'm truly sorry for interrupting your time with His Majesty, but our captive is ready to talk. Heard the information from Solution, Kyuubi's eyes widened for a fraction second, though it was soon become its normal lidded eyes. Solution won't be fooled. Her Majesty is angry after interrupted by her thought. Fortunately, the rage is not pointed her, but the captive she talked about. I see, then I will. She wanted to said something foul, but realized that her bride is still on her shoulders. Kyuubi bit her tongue and merely stares at her pet with calmness. I will be there in a minute. Yes, Your Highness. Gulping down slightly, Solution bowed for the last time and teleport herself to the captive cell. Thinking about said captive and how she will die when Her Majesty is done with her. Back with Kyuubi, she closed her eyes. She really want to do her first night with her bride, making him cry in both pain and pleasure as she devours his lithe body. Imagining it alone make her salivating honestly. But her captive has been broken at this very moment. Truly, if only not because she's very angry, she would have applauded that human for enduring Solution's torture for more than 5 days. Whenever normal human would have begs to die within 1 hour alone. Walking to her chamber after ordered the door to open, Kyuubi let her 2 palms caress her bride's thigh that's on her shoulders. She wanted to devour his purity today, but she also wants to get the information about him. Why can't he talk normally? Why do he become curious at little thing? And why he's too naive? I am Demon Lord, Kyuubi. I will choose not one, but both. All she needs to do first is to leave her bride on the care of her fabric snakes as she went to her captive. It's not like these snakes have genders anyway, they're just like slimes that reproduce by splitting themselves and let the split part grow by itself. How's it? Love it? Hate it? Review so I know what you think. I accept compliment and critique, but I'll ignore a burn. Welcome back guys to 1000 subscribe special movie. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video. Let's get started. What if FemKyuubi fall in love with Naruto Chapter 1, A Bride for Demon Lord? It's a new story? Dun. Just a project at the moment, however, I already has 3 chapters for this title, though I'll post the others chapters after I got some positive reaction from readers. And no, I didn't mean I want review or something like that, but as long there's positive feedback, I'll continue. I mean, I don't want to post story that people hate. That's that. Without further ado, please read of Demon and Human. Chapter 1, A Bride for Demon Lord. What if the Kyuubi isn't sealed into Naruto when it fought against Yondaime and his wife? Instead, successfully killed both with its claw. What if, after that, the Kyuubi start to create its own army near the Konoha and demand a sacrifice every year to Konoha so it didn't attack them? And what if, 12 years after its attack on Konoha, Kyuubi got itself a crush on its latest sacrifice, the ball of blonde of pure adorableness that always squeaked cutely every time one of its demon vassals spooked him? It want him as its bride, but how? With so many its vassals start falling for the blonde of joy, do it need to start massacre its own people? Or it need to claim what is hers as fast as possible? A mostly fluffy story with pure plot and maybe some lime. Not as hardcore as one may think. Cute Naruto, Shota Naruto x Fem Kyuubi, Yandere and Protective Kyuubi. XXXXXXXX. Start. XXXX. XXXX sat in its large throne like how a cat would. A humongous crimson fox could be seen. Its eyes are deep crimson in color, so deep that they as if could swallow any being with nothing but gazes. And right now, these eyes are growing with unnatural malicious intention. Grin, so evil that it probably could make humans scared to death, then appear on the fox's feline face. Solution: where's my prey for this year? A woman bow in reverence to the humongous fox in front of her. Her form, compared to its size, is like comparing an ant to human. Your Highness, the tribute from the hidden village in the leaf has been prepared for you, she said calmly, though that silence behind her words make the demon fox stares at its vassal. Solution is not a human, despite look like them. She's an apex of her own species, a predator slime that can mimic into any shape and eat any creature trapped inside her body. So the question is, why did she silence like that? Speak what's on your mind. Solution: it's nothing, Your Highness. It just, the tribute this year looks so delicious. Drool leaked from Solution's lips edge. Lips that starting to become wider and wider the longer the woman spaced out. 5 seconds is all it need for her bottom lip fall enough that her mouth now is large enough to swallow a human female adult. I see, but of course, what did it expect? The fox thought wryly with small deadpan on its head. Sadly for Solution, the tribute is for it to eat and not her. She can eat normal human for all it care, but not its tribute. Bring him, or her here, then. Leave me alone with my tribute. I want to taste their fear and chakra privately. The fox's eyes glows maliciously. Who dare say that its tribute is normal? It'll only eat the best meat out there, the one with large chakra that can put hundreds adult to shame. As for normal human, they're nothing but speck of dust before it, the great demon Lord Kyuubi. Right away, Your Highness. With a small bow, Solution then vanished, leaving the demon lord alone. I wonder how tasty my tribute will be this year. 12 years, no more and no less, since it was free from its prison, which is a human from Uzumaki clan. 12 years ago, it was freed by someone from Uchiha clan. Of course, that person didn't do such a thing from his goodwill, but from his intention to control it as his pet. Oh, I still remember how he screamed like a bitch when I squash him under my paw like a bug. He is. Who did he think he is? Madara? Huh? Even the powerful Uchiha was hard-pressed at forcing it to do his bidding. Much less a no-name someone from Uchiha clan, even though that person did have Madara's eyes. Dumbass, all of them. It was not Madara's eyes that's so special that it can hypnotize a demon lord, but the power of himself that enchanted his eyes so much that it could hypnotize a demon lord. Almost same, but not quite. And it was what make all humans dumbass in the eyes of Kyuubi. Assumption. They assume what they don't understand without trying to decipher the mystery. Some do, and success. But give something hard, given time, human would assume once again. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Sounds of large bell rings 3 times, and the Kyuubi know it was the time that its tribute coming. Within the darkness of the room, except for small crimson light, the Kyuubi let out a very fear-induced grin. Like out from horror movie, the humongous gate before the demon lord's throne opened with surprisingly no amount of sound. Armies of thousands then start to flooding the humongous room. Each of them is variant in shape and size. Even then, even the largest is merely doubling that of human. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Each demon's wield weapon in their arms and armor on their body. Their faces is as ferocious as their species should be, eyes filled with nothing but bloodlust and intention to kills. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Their steps create a loud sound, one that can make any human trembles in fear. But, let's face it, who wouldn't shaken in fear from thousands armies of demonic creatures? Leading the armies, is 7 women that encircles a floating carriage. Each of them wears a classic maid attire, except the one in front, as she wear a traditional Miko attire. The 7 battle maid of Demon Lord. And inside the carriage, is the tribute for their beloved Lord Kyuubi. Kyuubi is pleased. Its grin widened when its armies marched into its room and showing their might. Even though the harpies cannot fly as it mean disrespecting its position, they still tried their best to look as ferocious in front of their lord. It pleased Kyuubi. They're all part of its armies, even though there's still much more outside. Demons, the creatures that not only pride themselves of their power, but also revered to those with power. And let be honest, Kyuubi has infinite amount of it. Unlike humans, Kyuubi is more fond of demons. And it showed itself in the form of its armies that have no single human inside. To Kyuubi, they're pest. And to its armies, human is nothing but prey, which made the Kyuubi found itself getting fonder of them each passing day. Now let's see what my pets bring this year. Kyuubi is fond of its demonic army, this is true, but to it, they're still nothing more than pets. Fond of pets is nothing unusual. And after thought like that, the demon Lord Kyuubi take a glance to the carriage in front of its army, and immediately widen its eyes, at the same time, salivating. As such chakra, what kind of human is this? Whatever kind of human it is, it want him slash her, and it want him slash her now. Stop the Kyuubi's army immediately do that. Their faces show confusion at why their lord tell them to stop. After all, the ceremony is not even finished. But it was their lord's order. Even if it tell them to kill themselves, they will do it in heartbeat. You all have done a great thing, now leave. I don't want to do any ceremony this year. Saying the demons stupefied may be an understatement. After all, it was not on their lord's nature to miss the ceremony. After all, their lord was the one created the ceremony in the first place. Didn't I make myself clear? Thousands or so demons immediately teleported away. Their lord is powerful, it can do as it please and they would just comply. The only group that didn't teleported is the 7 battle maid, still encircling the carriage that's holding their lord's prey. Then I shall take my leave, your highness. One of the 7 battle maids, the one in front, bowed lowly, then also teleported like the others. Thunk. Right after she leave, the carriage dropped gently, showing that it was her that hold it in the first place. The other 6 frowned inwardly, kinda putted off by their leader attitude. The Kyuubi though didn't seem mind. After all, Omega just did what had been ordered. Its eyes glows ominously at the dropped carriage, showing where's its focus currently. The Kyuubi inhales, sniffing and absorbing the chakra poured out from the carriage and shivers in excitement. Growl, such thickness, such potency. With nothing but a sniff, Kyuubi felt as if eaten 10 adult males with large chakra reservoir. It can't wait to eat any more. Swoosh! The Kyuubi's gone, its form as if dispersed into the shadow that swallow the whole room, taunting its inhabitants that it always watching everything. That compared to it, they're nothing. No, they're less than nothing. Already watched it several times. 6 of remaining of 7 battle maids kneels in reverence to the growing shadow that grew second by second. In front of them. The size is roughly human-like. First is limbs, hands, and feet grew like how lizard grow their tails, but instead lizard-like, it was more like human limbs. Several others then grew just like that. Slowly but surely created humanoid form. Kyuubi opened its eyes, the dark crimson color is there, along with the darkest sclera, as dark as night. No, it's more like, Kyuubi opened her eyes. Stood in a whooping 7 feet, the demon mistress is far tinier than its fox form. But the power inside her is undeniable. It was just compressed, just like how she could compress her dark energy into a pure Biju Dhamma. And from how her maids shivering in both excitement and fear, Kyuubi know that they too know how dangerous she is despite her size. Crimson hairs waving around behind her in ethereal beauty, each strand is as breathtaking as others, and together, all of her hairs is akin to that of silks of heaven, with bangs rested atop of her eyes, almost covering both. Her face is enchantingly gorgeous, and equally dangerous. Like the most beautiful mistress in the hell, the beauty that you can't help but forgive no matter how much she hurt you. Her demonic eyes just enchanting all of this. Black dress, as black as night sky covers her sinful body, topped by large haori that hide any curve that she possibly have under it. Bloody Queen Elisis from Elseword, why are you still here even after I ordered you to scram? Just like before, her voice is demonic in nature, but this time with a hint of feminine within. Her demonic eyes gazes into her 6 vassals with something akin to annoyance. She had ordered them to go away, and thousands demons already do so, even the 6th leader. Yet why is these 6 still here? Obviously noticed the annoyance on their mistress's voice, the 6 sweated heavily. There's no way someone cannot notice such a thing, not with the way ominous energy in the air tremble, as if the fabric of space itself scared at the thought of the angry demon lord. One of the 6 decided to step up before she and her sisters being killed by their own mistress. There's something I need to tell you before you getting in. Your Highness, the one spoke in her mind is a bespectacled woman around 174 cm/5'7" feet in height. And it was because it was her that Kyuubi decided to let them live for another seconds. After all, Yuri Alpha is someone that Kyuubi can respect, even though only for a bit. Then what are you waiting for? Speak. The woman named Yuri Alpha then bowed, as if in apologize. And Kyuubi know it mean whatever she's going to say is going to offend her in some way. Thousand apologize, Your Highness. This lowly me just want to say be careful to you, the human inside, he's dangerous, right on the spot. Well, Kyuubi's offended, but not so much. And so she just let it slide for now. She know how powerful she is, and she also know how powerful the human inside the carriage. He pose no danger to her. I see, if that's all. Kyuubi didn't need to speak further, as the 6 of 7 battle maids immediately teleported away. 2 seconds after her maids gone, Kyuubi take a deep sniff, and once again shivering in deep euphoria. Eyes locked into the carriage, Kyuubi's form start to change once again. The glows in her eyes brighten in intensity, her fangs become longer, and 9 ghostly aura shaped like tails appear behind her. Yuri is strong, as Dullahan she is, there's no question. So if she said the human inside is dangerous, then it mean he's dangerous. Let's see how you put up a fight. Human with calmness of predator, Kyuubi walked to the carriage and opened the door. Later, this is not what she expected. She had thought the human inside is big, with muscles filled his body and glare as if going to kill her. A boy, seem no older than 12 is what she see right now. Tied up and gagged by a white cloth, his eyes also blindfolded by blue cloth, and from the smell, both cloth is Yuri's own. This make Kyuubi's form back into her previous form, deadpan on her head. This is my tribute. Even from the side, she could see the boy squirm in the sofa. His hands trying their best to pull the knot that tying his hands together behind his back. Even Jenin can do that from what she remember. So the fact this boy can't even do that mean he's not even a ninja. Which part of this dangerous? Rubbing her suddenly aching head, Kyuubi walked to her prey, her eyes watching how he squirm around like a caterpillar with no success at breaking free. Honestly, it's amusing. Now let's see how loud can you scream in fear. Evil grin then appears on the Kyuubi's lips. Weak or strong, in the end there's no different. He's her prey, she will swallow him. As he begs for mercy and scream in fear. With a slight twitch of hand, Kyuubi slashed all the binds on the boy. It start with the boy frozen in place, his eyes still closed. Yeah. He let out soft noise, hands free, and eyes opened. Baby blue eyes met dark crimson with black sclera, his eyes met hers for the first time. For normal boys, they probably will shrink when they see the form of woman that almost doubled their size. But surprising Kyuubi, the boy smiled at her. Smiles with nothing hidden within, only pure happiness and gratefulness that someone decide to help him. And for some reason, she, the great demon lord of hell, suddenly feels self-conscious. Thank you. It was then, right in front of her, the boy's cheeks turn red from embarrassment. His eyes glancing away from her in shyness.